toting patriot, God-fearing patriot. Bryson, why they mad? Cause I'm real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun toting, Bible reading, God believing, truth speaking American. This MAGA season, Democrats committing treason. I know they think it's sweet, but you don't know who you dealing with. This for free thinkers only. You ain't got no membership. They free. General Flint out the cage, cause he innocent. Barton Roger Stone, cause the run know that he innocent. We need to kick out every single illegal immigrant. Mandatory voter ID laws we need to implement. Tell Jussie Smollett that I know this MAGA country. Tell China we know they.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. I am going to say hello to everybody really quickly. Hi, Becky. Watch that hurricane is going to be coming your way. Be safe. Oh, yeah, there's a tropical storm that is on its way tomorrow, and it's going to be raining until Saturday. So I'm going to be stuck at home for a few days. Hopefully the power doesn't go out. But yeah, thanks, Becky. Hello, Jay. John Marciano, hello. Hi, David. King of Dots, hello. Can I share a 10-minute old view? What do you mean, King of Dots? What do you mean? Hello to 587. Great to have you guys here. Yeah, so this episode is going to be about corruption. I mean, that's what we've been talking about on this, XJW Political Corner, is how the governments are corrupt. What can we do about it? How can we vote ourselves out of this, etc.? I believe that we are in deep, deep, deep corruption. And so I was talking to King Tony today, and what do you know? Speaking of the devil, I just said I was gonna describe our conversation. Hello, welcome, King Tony.
Hi.
How's it going?
Everything's good. Look at this one. She doesn't leave me alone.
Ah, but she's so cute though. How old is she? She's a baby, right? She's a little baby.
Yeah. My baby. She just wants attention.
Yeah, they're cute. I mean, I'm allergic to cats and I don't really like them anyway, but she's cute.
I know. You remember the other cats I used to have? They were bad. They were she's nice. She's nice.
Yeah.
So yeah. What was this?
Yeah. Let's start from the beginning, because we've been talking all day. We've been talking all week. We've been talking all month. We've been talking for a long time. Yeah. And so I feel like my brain literally hurts from all of this thinking. Like I told Jimmy, like all the videos that he was sending me, it's like, even though it's being spoon-fed to us, like, we're waking up little by little, we're like doing our research. Yeah. My brain is not used to doing all that thinking. And
it's overwhelming. It's a lot, yeah.
Yes, and trying to formulate our opinions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard because we're not used to that. But then we're not used to thinking about all these like behind the scenes, or like false flags, or psychological operations, or like we are familiar with brainwashing and indoctrination. Like those are the only things that we can compare it to. But everything else, I'm like, okay, y'all gotta give me a minute, because I feel like I'm stuck. Like I have a mental block, and I have to think my way through it, and it's kind of hard. How do you feel so far with what we've been talking about before we dive in?
Well, yeah, we were talking about, like, I'm here at the phase where I've come to accept the fact. Oh my goodness. I've come to accept the fact that, like, I was raised in a cult, and basically I'm there in that phase. So especially when you come from living a life like that, I'm slowly coming to terms with I guess basically we were saying that our life that we thought had purpose was basically no purpose at all. And so
Mhm.
now I'm at a stage where now I'm curious. I want to know more about the politics. And oh my goodness, Ma, she's just purring really loud. Um, and I feel like I'm pretty much open minded to a lot of stuff. Like, you
Right.
know,
We're allowing ourselves to go down rabbit holes of conspiracies and like
hmm
even when it comes to like the P Diddy stuff. Like we're not gonna get into that tonight, but like that was a bombshell. Then
yeah,
we're talking about Hollywood, Illuminati,
hmm
rituals. We're talking
yeah.
about behind the scenes government. And you were telling me like you've always been persistent in this like worldview that you say. And we've talked about this before. Like everything is rigged. What's the purpose? It's like we're always looking for that
I feel like
purpose.
it always gets back to that because people want to find purpose. People want to have a reason, you know.
They need
Um,
hope for
yeah,
something.
they
There's
need
like a
that, and
hope.
I feel like is that's understandable. But this government is just constantly giving us a false sense of hope.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because ultimately, what good are they have they been doing? So
Right.
that's how I've been for this election coming because I'm like I could understand certain
Mhm,
things when it comes to Trump supporters, and I can understand certain things when it comes to supporters, you know, Kamala.
mhm.
But ultimately, how I feel is that they're both corrupt, and the whole system's corrupt. The whole system's rigged. I feel um, like, do we really have a voice? Can we really make a change? Does our vote really count?
Right.
And that's where I'm at.
But I do want you to kind of explain your reasoning when you told me they always want to make us feel like we have to choose. What if
Yeah, because it's
just
like
don't
they're giving
choose?
us those two options and then the third. And it's
Mhm.
like, do we have to choose?
Right.
What if we feel like none of them are? At that point, then what do you do? But that's never
Mhm.
happened. Where like a majority of people is, you know, stood up for the fact that like you continue to give us these snakes
Mhm.
constantly, and this is every what 4 years, and so like what's the point then?
Right. Because we don't see any change
There's
with
no
this
change.
two-party system. But then that's when
Right,
I
and then
told you.
and then they'll be like, "Yeah, this person did this or that person did that."
Mhm.
Okay, but ultimately, the bigger picture, what really has changed?
Right.
It's about the bigger picture always, no?
Yes, but but that's what I was telling you. It's like ever since I met Jimmy and I was in communication with different theories, like opening my mind to different things, and
Mhm.
he's been showing me a lot of videos and like his worldview. It kind of opened up mine. It kind of,
Yeah,
and then I talk to you, and I'm like, oh, that's the domino effect. It's like we share
right.
information, we continue talking about it. I do
Yeah.
this, and then I get other people's perspective. That's what
Mhm.
keeps it open. But that's what I told you, and I've always felt like this. We need to break away from that two-party system, and we need to promote a third or fourth or fifth
Well,
option.
that's what I'm saying, but it would have to be a majority of people. Like, it would have to be a lot of people that can help in some way break the system. Because
Right.
really, do they really focus on the third party? I'm not saying that they don't have their rallies and whatever, but like whenever elections are around, they always focus on the two main candidates.
Right.
And like, you know what I'm
Because
saying? Because that's who they really want you to vote for. It's one of those.
not only that, it's
Okay.
because they have these super PACs that they are backed by millions of dollars that cannot be, normally donated through the conventional way because it's just too much. So they
Right.
have these super PACs, and then the money gets put into there, and then they
Oh,
can
right, right,
use that.
right. I get that. Okay. But
So
still,
we need to get rid of that. That was like my
right, 'cause
my
they're
first
using
thing.
money as an advantage.
Mhm.
Jimmy for president. Jimmy for president.
Yeah, they're hilarious. They're hilarious in the comments, and I love Jimmy, but sometimes I be telling him like, I just can't go that far. Like I can
I
go
was
far.
telling you, I can't doubt nothing. Like
Okay, I
for
get
me,
that.
from where I come from, like I've lived a life where I was like, yeah, right, okay, no problem, sure. And like I'm at the point where I'm accepting the fact that I did live a life in a cult, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
even just being able to say that took a lot for me because it was hard for me to acknowledge that. That's huge for me. And so
But we've
now,
accepted that though. We've accepted that
right.
what
But
we
now
used to
I'm
think
like,
is not all there is to the world. There's more to the world
there's
than what we
more.
thought.
Right. So I that's why I try to stay
Oh,
open-minded. I try to be open to a lot of things. Obviously, you got to be cautious, but it's like you can't doubt it. You can't.
yeah. Jimmy says, I'll be on a little later. And Ruby, it's time to
Look,
go that
look,
far.
look.
No, I'll be telling
Because
him. I don't.
it's just you can't doubt it. I can't doubt it. I'm not saying that it doesn't sound crazy. Okay, I get it. Yes. But look at the life I lived. Like that was fucking crazy. That was crazy.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm just like, you know what?
Okay, but how far is too far? Like, have you ever thought about that? I mean, how far
Yeah.
can you let
Um,
yourself say, and then you say, you stop and you say, okay, that's reaching, like that's a stretch. Because that's how I feel.
well,
I
I
feel
guess
like,
at different phases in your life, you would know that because when you're in a phase, you would have a boundary. Like, okay, you know what? Let's take it this far and that's it. But then as you continue and you continue to expand and do your research and woo, um,
Mhm.
and you continue to learn and you continue to do your research and ask questions and talk to different people, all of that is going to influence and change certain viewpoints. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a bad thing. You're just absorbing a lot and it's okay. Unfortunately, we didn't have the years that we spent in that cult to be able to
Mhm.
do that. And now we're doing it. And I don't think it's about time. You know, there in certain periods you'll be able to allow
Mhm.
yourself mentally to grasp certain concepts. And then there's times where you won't be able to because it's like you're not there yet, you got too much
Right.
going on and you just need to process this right now and then you'll let that come in due time kind of thing. You got to give yourself time and
Right.
be patient with yourself. But
Okay.
for me,
Mhm.
I personally, I grew you know my father, so I grew up with a father who literally talked hours a day to us. So
Yeah.
I grew up in an environment where he allowed us to express ourselves. He allowed us to question. We had conversations that you say you would never have had with your mom, and I'm just like, wow, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
This is why I appreciate certain things about my dad because he didn't really he sheltered us, but not the way your mom did.
Right.
He still had certain conversations with us and he allowed us to express ourselves. So that I
Mhm.
appreciate. So like when I do have these conversations now about things that people would think that is crazy, it's like to me, I'm like, I mean, I understand it may seem crazy, but it's just interesting to think and
Yeah.
talk about those things.
San Diego says Tony's dad sounds like mine, more open-minded. Yeah, it's a little shocking,
Yeah,
right?
he's an Aquarius. Weren't we talking about astrology earlier?
Yeah. I think my computer is glitching or like acting up or something. Something's weird with my computer
Like
right now.
freezing.
Is
Mhm.
it? Am I freezing?
It's maybe it's the StreamYard.
I don't know if it's my computer because I'm like trying to type and like do things and it's not letting me do it. It's fucking weird. Yeah, it's not letting me do it. Okay, so something's wrong with my computer.
Oh man. So what do we do?
Nothing. I'll just put the link if anybody wants to join, and I will see how far I get to go with this stream. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
but things have been weird lately. Jimmy says the media completely lied to everyone about J6. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do a separate episode about J6. Oh, huge announcement.
Okay.
I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole that I never thought that I would go down. This is another UFO type of
Oh,
conversation that
Vern had
I
trouble
was,
with StreamYard earlier.
yeah, something's going on.
Yeah,
But I
so I
mean,
think
like, I
it's
can't
StreamYard.
even type on my computer. So I don't think that's just
Mm.
the StreamYard. So that's kind of weird. Maybe I touched something. I don't know. So the UFO alien thing, I would have never in a million years thought about going down that rabbit hole, right?
Oh, I've
I
been had
went
that conversation when I was a child. Yeah. When I was
No, but
younger.
that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary when you start looking at Area 51, the Men in
Well,
Black.
my dad was the first one that came and was like, "Well, think about it. Do you think we're the only ones like that's the only creation God has created?" Because we live, if you look into science, we live in a cluster, in a galaxy inside of a cluster, and then when you look
Okay.
into what a cluster is and how many clusters are there in a galaxy, it's just like mind boggling. Like it blows
Okay.
your mind,
Okay.
and it's just like I can't fathom.
You
I
can't
can't.
say no, like you said before. You
Right,
cannot
right,
say that it doesn't exist or that it
right,
does. You just have to be open-minded enough to accept the
right.
conversation to begin with.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So Jimmy sent me a video out the blue, or I think he posted it on Twitter, and it was about the flat Earth. And I remember that they did like an XJW podcast or whatever, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Oh, this is crazy, right?" Same thing like we always talk about all the
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, but let me just see what they're saying." I didn't finish that episode yet, but I watched the documentary and I sent it to you. I put it on Discord. So if anybody is not on Discord, get on Discord because that's where the magic happens, right? We always share things.
Yes.
I went down that documentary. I was thinking for days, and then I finally booked the guy that was on that stream and the documentary
No,
to come
that
on this
it's
show.
actually very interesting, and it's a lot of points where you just can't help and be like, "Oh, that kind of makes a little sense," but
Then,
you know what I'm
but
saying?
that's
Like
scary. When
it,
things start making sense is a little scary. Like I don't know if that
yeah,
even makes sense, but in my mind, if everything um like if there's a little element of mystery or a little element of, well, let me get back to you on that. Let me research. That's the
mhm,
JW conditioning, right? It's like you always have to like leave a cliffhanger so that you can come back and follow up. But if everything starts to make sense and then there's nothing else to do, I kind of feel like that's scary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why I feel that way. Like, stability is scary sometimes. Like, if it's not dysfunctional or toxic, then something's wrong. Like, I don't know. Is that just me? Am I messed up or something? Like, I don't know
no.
what that is.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted. The cat is literally attacking me and wants to play, and I'm like about to fling her. She's gonna
I'm
go
having a
flying.
crisis here,
I'm,
and the cat is getting in the
I'm
way. Like,
so
I'm literally being
sorry.
vulnerable right
The
now,
cat
and
is
I'm
being
catching my
distracted.
feelings, and the cat is distracting me. That's crazy.
Yo, she just like attacked me. Yeah, but I get it 100%. I guess it doesn't affect me in the way it affects you because, like I said, you were a lot more sheltered than I was. So, um,
Right. And then some of the comments are here talking about that subject. He said before Rockefeller hijacked public education in the 1920s, children were taught about the ether and flat Earth.
oh
That's what gets
man,
me. It's like they've changed
Jimmy, what are
things.
you doing?
It's in the documentary. That's what I'm saying. I
I
like that
know.
documentary. It killed me a little bit inside because I was like, no, like
But then we were going into like the Bible and like how
Mhm.
there's a scripture. There she comes. She's coming. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Let me deal with her. Let me
Lord
deal
have
with her.
mercy.
Okay. That we were saying, like, the Bible is a scripture that says that the earth is round or
It's
whatever.
it's a sphere,
And
right? Somebody
right.
put the scripture
And
in the chat for me, please, because I can't even use my computer for some reason. I need
yeah,
that scripture.
Are you waiting for the scripture?
No, I'm just letting them know that they could post a scripture for me if somebody has it.
Oh,
Because I
okay,
can't use
okay.
the lap.
So
I
then
can't use the
I was
computer.
saying that if you really think about it, that was a man-made book, and if you believe that, I personally believe that religion is a whole is a business basically, and it's just a tactic that the government uses to distract the people, which that's just my personal opinion, because I don't believe you need religion to have a relationship with God. I think that that's just another way to control a majority of people. And again,
Mhm.
I feel this way now because of everything I've gone through.
Right.
But
Right.
um aside from that point, what was I gonna say? What were you just talking about?
That
That
it rocks my world view
yeah,
because
so
it's like okay, it's like you're introducing a new element, a new piece of information that we have not been exposed to. So that kind of rocks your worldview. That's why I put this title about a discussion. What can you do
yeah.
for your country? Like, what can we do for the world if what we thought the country was or what we thought the government was there for is that's not the real reason why it's
Oh,
there, or
yeah,
it's
and
not
that the
working for what
scripture
it's
was a
supposed to do.
man-made book. Like, how do
Right.
we know that that was a book from God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because basically it says that the earth is a sphere.
Right. Okay.
And so we're
Somebody put a
supposed
scripture.
Isaiah 40:22. So we're supposed to believe that this book is a book from God, but
Mm-hmm.
then that video is saying that the earth is actually flat. So what are we to believe then?
That's my thing. That's what I tell Jimmy all the time. I'm like, so if everything is fake
So this
or
is what I'm
rigged,
saying.
then what do
Right.
we have faith in? What do we
And
believe
that's
in?
what
How do you know? I'm dying
that's why I
over
was
here.
saying we're living in the Truman Show.
Yo, you need to get into that in a second. But let me look up the scripture because I need to read this for myself.
We're
Okay,
living in the
Isaiah
Truman Show.
40, verse 22. Okay,
Yeah.
it says, and this is the Orthodox Study Bible. You have a
Okay.
Bible? You have a Bible?
I got the New World Translation.
Oh, you have the Satanic Bible. Go get it.
I got the Satanic.
Go get it.
Boom.
Boom. Go to Isaiah 40, 22
Okay.
right now.
Okay, hold on. Let's see what this one says.
Sorry, guys. I know this is supposed to be a political show, but we're gonna get back to the
It's
corruption.
political. This is political.
This is
Stop playing.
I just
Stop
dropped the
playing
mic.
with me.
Oh my god, yo. Okay. Yeah, this is political. You're right. You're right.
Don't make
Oh
me
my
laugh.
god, I'm
with me.
sitting here.
Okay,
Okay.
Isaiah
40, 22.
40. Okay, hold on. Damn, this is the small one, so I have to I can't see.
Yeah.
26. Okay. Don't look at me, Luna. Okay. 40, 22.
Okay, go ahead. Read it.
You want to read this one? Okay.
Go ahead. We'll do Satan's
There
Bible
is
first and then we'll do the
one
Bible.
who dwells. There is one who dwells above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers.
Mhm.
He is stretching out the heavens like a fine gauze, and he spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. So basically, the first part is there is one who dwells above the circle of the earth.
Okay, let me
I
read
have
this one.
never. They definitely changed that in the new Bible because I don't think the old translation had that written that way.
The old New World Translation?
Right, the old one.
The red and the black one.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
It
this is
definitely
how
said
this
it completely different. This is the newer.
Okay, okay. My Bible says, "It is he who possesses the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. It is he who stretches out heaven like a vault and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in."
It's
The
pretty
footnote.
simple.
Okay, now let me read the footnote. This one,
Okay.
this footnote says, over 2,000 years before science proclaimed the earth was round and revolved around the sun, Isaiah spoke of the circle of the earth.
What the circle of the
It is what we think of it as a circle, as a globe.
or
Let me go to
sphere?
the other
Yeah,
scripture.
sphere.
Yeah, a sphere. Okay. Let me go back up to the comments because the comments are blowing up. I have to like go back to where I was. Where was I? Okay, here we go.
They said the anointed are aliens.
Okay, this somebody. Okay, Thrifty put Job 26 verse 7. He stretcheth out the north over empty space and hangeth the earth upon nothing. Okay, that's a good scripture. I have
Yeah,
to
but
write this down.
it doesn't say that it's round in that scripture.
Okay. Jimmy
So
says Job
38:14?
38. Yeah, Job 38.
Okay. Job.
Oh my goodness, where's Job? I haven't
Job
seen a Bible in so long.
is before
Psalms, right?
before Psalms. 38:14.
Oh my god, I'm not finding Job.
Before
This is
Psalms.
crazy.
When you find Psalms is right
No,
before
I
Psalms.
know, but in this Bible it has Maccabees. It doesn't have I'm like I'm struggling here. Hold on.
Don't make me laugh.
Okay, it's after Psalms. This is embarrassing. I can't even believe it.
Bible has Maccabees. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
No, that was before Psalms. So I have to go after Psalms. There we go,
Okay.
Job.
So I don't know your
Lord have
Bible.
mercy. Lord have mercy. I
Go to
can't
the
believe
table
it.
of contents.
Okay, 38 verse 14 it says, or did you take clay of the ground and form a living creature and set it with the power of speech upon the earth? Okay, maybe my Bible has a different.
Okay, I'm gonna read mine.
Okay,
You
go
said
ahead.
38:14.
Yeah, 38:14. Job
It
38.
is transformed like clay under a seal, and its features stand out like those of a garment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jimmy.
Yeah, he gonna have to explain that one. We're gonna
Tell
wait
us
for him.
what you're trying to say. We got two different
Speaking in
scriptures here.
code.
What? You sure you
And
were reading the Maccabees? Stop playing.
and Lucy says, "What the hell did I drop in on? I don't even know what's going on here, Lucy. I don't know. I'm
No.
sorry." We're gonna talk about corruption. We're gonna talk about the government, how corrupt it is, and what we can do. If anybody has opinions on what you can do to combat corruption, hop
Yeah.
on the stream and let us know.
Yeah. Circle
Okay, yeah.
doesn't mean globe. That's true. But
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. The circle of the earth. Like the
Mhm.
earth could be like circle, but not a sphere.
Mhm.
What he said? Circle doesn't mean a globe, could mean a sphere, although not all scholar. This is Wild Wall.
Wild Wall. Okay, hold on. Let me catch up to the comments. Okay,
Did
Wild
I
Wall.
skip?
He said
Did
could
I
mean a
skip?
sphere, although not all scholars agree on this point. In any case, the Bible does not support the idea of a flat Earth. Yeah, so
Yeah, we know. So that's why I was saying, like, the Bible is a man-made book, and people are made to believe that it was a book made over 2,000 years ago or whatever. So, and then I was telling you, Ruby, that you know the prophets were also imperfect human beings as well. They were not perfect.
Right.
So, you know, the book I think could have been
Go ahead.
basically,
I'm trying to catch up.
I feel, yeah, I'm also reading. So
Yeah,
I
give us a
feel like,
second.
you know, each prophet probably could have put their own interpretation of what God meant, maybe, or something. Or it could also be that the
Okay.
Bible is also not real. Like I'm open to that. I'm open to that. That the Bible is not
Right, I get where you're coming from, but this is okay. This is how it ties into the corruption, because, like Jimmy says about NASA, that I think
did I not say?
NASA's fake. NASA's fake, in my
Did I
opinion. Oh,
not
we got
say
Lucy.
that?
Hi,
Hi, Lucy.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, I like what you guys are talking about. I like the curiosity. Definitely love the curiosity.
Yeah, I like being curious.
Lucy. I mean, the only reason why
What's
I
your
brought that up,
opinion?
yeah. Well, we don't really have to dive into it because I want to
Yeah.
keep the relevance towards corruption, but I think that ties in with how the government lies. They don't tell us the truth. They're not transparent. They have these treaties and these pacts that don't allow us to get the
Mhm.
truth, and
Yeah.
they hide it from us because they're trying to control us.
Yeah.
Okay, Lucy, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I agree with part of what you say, but maybe not for the same reasons that you do. Governments do um, desire to control their inhabitants, but it's for crowd control, right? It's
Yeah.
easier to control people who are passive. Our government got away with lying to the people like over 100 years ago, and it got out of control. Like, okay, so the rule. So let's put this in perspective, and I like talking in terms of philosophy because it keeps it real, keeps the emotion out of it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a law that says that you cannot, if you yell fire in a crowded mall or a crowded theater and there's no fire, you just did it just to get a reaction out of people, you can be charged with a crime because people could potentially get hurt in that scenario. And that happened because of one incident, right? It was sparked by one incident, one or two incidents.
Mhm.
And some people can say, well, that's the government overreacting. That's the government, trying to take my rights away and stuff. Well, if people if people thought for 2 seconds that if yelling fire in a crowded room and then watching grannies get trampled to death is funny, then I'm sorry, I don't want you in my society. I don't know how to I don't know how to say it any nicer than that. So at
Mhm.
some point when you get a huge amount of people, laws start inevitably being made in order to crowd control, basically, right? To
Yep.
keep to keep the majority of bad things from happening.
Right.
Um, but unfortunately, the what Ruby has on deck for us to talk about is the ultimate conclusion of too much control, right, leads to corruption, right?
Mhm.
So we move from let's not yell fire in a crowded room all the way to the US is going to Nicaragua and taking out their leader and leaving their country in a mayhem. So
Oh,
we have a
look at this.
yes.
Wow. I'm listening to you, Lucy.
Yeah, no worries. It's there's a fine line there between crowd control and manipulating people so that they are hurt.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I like to have different people come on to give like
Yes,
that
it's
that
needed.
perspective, because me and you talk and we say those types of things. And Lucy is actually Green Party. So she also doesn't believe in the Republican or like Democratic two-party system.
Okay. So she's yeah.
Coming from. I'm like, we should be thinking outside of that box. Like, why do
Well,
they
yes.
always want to put a box?
Well, that's what I was telling you, that they want to force you to choose those, like, I feel like we need to bring it back to us, the people. What do the
Yes.
people really want? And they're forcing us to choose who they want. And I feel like that's giving them the power that they already have. Like you're just falling right into the like what they want you to do, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we need something needs to give. There has to be some change, and people can debate on who's the best candidate all they want, but ultimately, like I was saying, I believe that no matter who you choose, nothing is going to change, and the bigger picture will remain the same, where we need people to wake up and see that not falling for what they want us to fall for, not forcing us to choose the people they want to choose. They want us to choose, you know? Figure out another option, an alternative solution to bring some type of order and peace to this country.
Agreed. But what if the only way to do that is to
Mhm.
dismantle what we have now and rebuild? But that kind of sounds like Build Back Better. Like it kind of sounds like a little, I don't want to sound like an anarchist or something. Like I don't want to sound like that. But I just mean like maybe certain things have to happen for, like you said, people need to wake up, and then they need to start voting differently in larger and larger numbers, and that
Mhm.
kind of forces the system to change because the people are changing. But for
But
so many
right,
decades it hasn't
exactly.
changed.
I feel like we have power in that aspect, where if a group, like if we got people to get on the same page, to open their eyes and see how we are basically the puppets. Like, you know how the Bible says that Satan is like using the puppets to try and distract. We're the puppets, and they're the masterminds moving us and making us feel like we have power, but really we're not. Um, and that's how I see it.
Okay, and that's when you said the Truman Show. It's like
And
everything was
that's why
fake
I
in his
believe,
world.
because right,
He
look
was
at
in
the
a
food,
dome.
fake lettuce, fake food, fake fruit, fake. It's like nothing we ingest, nothing we eat is really.
Hmm.
It's just getting worse and worse. It's getting worse and worse. We
Right.
can't even
Okay.
afford to buy food. It's just there's so many things.
Exact.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I I I hear the desperation in your voice, and I know that, going into every election year feels a little chaotic, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah.
Locally here in Arizona, our mayor is up for re-election, so like we've got a whole bunch of parks being refreshed because people are trying to use it as a voting tool, So like people are going to be people. Like people are generally lazy, people are
Mhm.
generally selfish, people generally leave things till the last minute. We all procrastinate. And so that's why the election year feels every 4 years during the general, it feels so chaotic. Um, because we also have a lot of people. If we think about the voting, like how many people vote in like a country like France or in the UK, they don't have to manage nearly the same amount of people that we do in the US. So it's a little bit different dynamic. And we have a vast, diverse two-party system where it's difficult to reach across and ask people to do coalitions with you,
Mhm.
because the two corporate parties, the ones that have all the money, they're the ones who are blocking out the media. It's very difficult for Jill Stein to get any type of media coverage. Um, I guess there has been a third debate has been announced, but none of
Yeah.
the other candidates have been invited yet. So that's very telling on who the media considers should be in front of the cameras, because whoever gets in
Right.
front of the camera gets in front of the people, right?
So I guess I'm basically just trying to take it all in. I want to see this new debate coming out now. Ruby said she's gonna do a live to watch it, so I'm gonna hop on and watch
A
it with
watch
her.
party. Yeah, I'm gonna do a watch party for those freedom debates in October. So
Mhm.
whenever I need to get the right dates, but I'm gonna do that because that's what we need to start watching. We need to start watching other options
Yeah,
and
and I think we need to
know
have more
that,
conversations
right,
about
and
other
real debates,
Yeah,
real
that'd be
questions.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's like these debates are jokes, you know. Some of them, like you just watch it, it's just like they're some of them they're just jabbing at each other. Are they really giving us the answers that we're looking for?
right.
You know?
Oh, but you said earlier today, you said I still feel like something's missing. And then
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I told you God is missing.
Oh,
Like,
you did say that.
yeah, but that's another element that we're not taking into consideration is that this country is not godly. It's not religious. It's not really that spiritual either. There are
Mhm.
more atheists up and coming in all of these countries, not just us. And
Yeah.
I think that shift is another element that a lot of people are voting in terms of, like a secular world viewpoint. They're not thinking about family. They're not thinking about marriage. Nobody's getting married anymore. Nobody's even having as many kids as they used to anymore. It's just like that kind of died with grandma's generation. It's like we don't have dominoes anymore. We don't have the family reunion anymore. It's like that tradition just kind of died for us. And that happened to a lot of other people too. And COVID accelerated that. And then everybody is like, your age, my age, instead of having children, we're more focused on education, getting a job, getting, going to getting a PhD, or like, like we're focused on different things because that's just the modern era. That's just technology. It's just the way of life. It's just, it's just not the way we used to be anymore. So I think we are also evolving as a human species. We're just different. We're different than the rest. Really can't compare that. And our kids are going to be worse.
That's why when you say God is missing, like what do you mean?
The whole reverence of a higher power, the whole idea of like you're living your life because you know that there's something to revere, that there's something to worship, because people don't do that anymore.
That's an interesting because I always had trouble with that because when preachers and like what do you call them, priests,
Mm-hmm.
or even just people studying the Bible with you, when they come and say, yeah, we were put on this earth to serve God,
Right, like that's our real purpose.
that bothers me a little bit.
I get that because that's
Because
our
to me,
religious
it
trauma
doesn't
coming
make
in.
sense. No.
Mhm.
I don't think it has to do with religious trauma. I think because I've always felt this, even as a witness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've always felt why would like how does it look that someone creates something to worship them?
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, that sounds like very selfish and self-centered. That's me personally. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how narcissistic can you be that you got to create something to worship and bring praise to you? I don't get that.
Because
Why
that's God though. Like you can't put a human perspective and logical reasoning to a God. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but to me, then what was the point of creation? I don't understand. That doesn't make
to enjoy
sense.
life, we have to enjoy. We have to
If
live in the
we
now.
are
We
to
have to enjoy
enjoy
it.
life, we can acknowledge God, our creator, but why do we have to praise him and why do we have to worship him? I don't
I
understand
get
that.
that.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Lucy. Go ahead.
I love this. I love the curiosity. I hear the curiosity in your voice, Tony, that you're like really thinking this through.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because you said you asked Ruby a belief in a higher power. And I know, well, Ruby, do you have a belief in a higher power?
Yeah, I still consider myself Christian.
And do you communicate with the higher power?
I think there is proper avenues for it. Yeah.
What if we just redefined what that higher power would be to us? Would that be acceptable to you? I'm just wondering.
I mean, I think it would naturally, like different civilizations have had different interpretations of that, like throughout history, like different centuries. I'm sure like it has morphed, it has evolved, it has changed. But when it comes to like right worship, I still do believe in that line of thinking of like there is a right way and a wrong way. There is a right avenue to worship God. There's a right way of praising, a right way of living, a right way and a wrong. I'm kind of still in that black and white type of mentality.
But what if that's a mental condition? We were conditioned to believe that there's a higher power we have to worship. We have to worship. But why do we have to worship? Why can't I just acknowledge and appreciate the beautiful things that creator has done for me? Like, it don't make sense that I have to live my whole life worshiping this creator. I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, I didn't consent. I didn't consent to be
right.
born.
I was just born, and now I have to live my life, my blood, body, heart,
okay, but the
soul,
same
mind has to be.
Okay, Tony. So the same logic, the same reasoning, just to circle back to the topic of like politics. We didn't decide to be born here either, but we have to follow the laws. We have to follow our governance. We have to respect the law. We have to be law-abiding citizens. We got to pay our taxes. We have to not commit crimes. Like it, I think that those two things are very, very similar when it comes to like religious things and political things. And in my opinion, I don't think I can separate the two. That's why I say like Christian nationalism speaks to me a little bit, because I'm like, yeah, I think like we should be living by certain values, by certain kind of laws that are based on a biblical worldview. So that's where I can identify myself a little bit.
I agree to a certain point. I agree to the point where I don't think you need the Bible. I think you can acknowledge God and you can still abide by those policies and rules and respect them, because I understand like there has to be a basic set of rules, like don't kill, don't hate. Like, I get it. Okay, we know that now. Why do we need that Bible? Why do we need that organization, that religion to
So
prove?
why do we need laws? Why do we need police? Why do we need a government? Why do we need a
to maintain
president?
the order in this world, to maintain, but that God put them in place. So that's what we have. We
Okay,
have
and like
that.
Thrifty says, we have free will, right? That's another element. We have free will. If you disobey God, there's consequences. If you disobey the law, there's consequences. Go ahead, Lucy.
Raise your hand in the chat. Who thinks we do not have free will? I'm curious about who thinks we don't have free will right now.
Who thinks we don't?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you raise your hand?
No, you
They
would
know
have
how
to
to raise
comment.
it. Oh, that was a
She's just saying it to the
oh,
chat.
you just
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
No, I
because
think we.
the free
Yeah,
will
go ahead,
thing.
Lucy.
Because I don't believe that we have free will. I think that we were, from the time we were born, whether we were born in a cult or not, we were indoctrinated into the culture that we were born in. And so we have certain belief sets that we start our life out with. If we were raised by humans, we are taught what the humans believe. So if we are born in Bali, we believe in some sort of, a Hindu religion. Or if we're born in South Africa, we believe in, like, they have a really strong belief in their ancestors and like their grandmother worship and stuff. Like, it's really beautiful. It's a
And it's a
beautiful
spiritual
culture.
thing too. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. Like, like the earth, is alive. The
Yeah.
spirits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how you know God's real. You know, and that's just how I feel, and that's how I view things and I see things now. Like, and I've somewhat felt that way even as a witness. Like I've always questioned these things, but you know, you can't really verbalize those those thoughts.
I agree with that, but that's why I ask people, especially Christians and people like Jimmy who, believe in certain ideologies that like there is hope to come, that there is change to come, like they believe in a better future and things like that. What I say is like, so why allow all of this evil? Why allow suffering? Why allow corruption? Why
Mhm.
allow these institutions to create crimes against humanity? And who's gonna be like the Superman? Who's gonna be the Iron Man? We need the whole freaking Marvel,
Right.
Avengers right now. Like no, for real. Like when you go down
Oh,
those rabbit holes that I was
I
telling
like
you,
Thrifty's comment. She said, "For me, being forced to worship is not honoring God," and I
right?
agree with that. When I worship, it's because I really feel it in my heart, and there is a love
Right,
there.
exactly.
That was my issue with like going back a lot of the times, like back to that, because I had to feel it in my heart, and I wasn't gonna be a hypocrite to myself, to God. Like I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just go back to talk to my family because it has to be about my relationship with God, you know?
Right. Okay. So if you take God out the picture and
Mm-hmm.
you replace that with the world, with governments, with the spirit of the world, like we're familiar with these phrases, but I still believe in that, like worldly things, Hollywood. It's like you see the evil, you see the satanism, you see these people, they are not like underground anymore. They are out in the open saying like I worship Satan and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that what we're seeing today, I've never seen that before. So that's why I say like when you take God out the picture and
But
everything else comes
mm-hmm.
up, it's like that's what we can like agree on. Something is missing. And for me, it is like that like unity that we used to have. It was like everybody believed in one thing, everybody was American, everybody was patriotic, everybody was, you know what I'm saying, like after 2001, 9/11 and all that stuff. It was just a different world, it was a different feel. I don't feel like that now. I don't feel like the government is supposed to be, like looking out for us, taking care of us. No, they're spying on us. They they got us on a list. If you say the wrong thing, they do FBI raids on podcasters who are, right leaning. You know what I'm saying? Like you start seeing this, and it's a little scary. It's a little scary.
Yeah, I get that. I hear you, and it is a little bit scary, but the one thing that I have been able to observe, just simply because I've been able to watch a couple of different election cycles, the people who are targeted by the quote unquote government change each time there's a different party in power, right? So the right-leaning government will attack and go after left-wing media, but then now that we have a somewhat left-leaning um, administration, now the rhetoric is making fun of conservative values. So it's like they just keep flip-flopping back and forth. Um, it's but they are basically just trying to keep those of us who actually need to be able to use government services, those of us who actually would volunteer our time and do the things that need to be done to keep a civilization running, they just want to commodify it and put a price tag on it and sell it to us. That's what I observe. I try to follow the money. I try to see because whoever is spending money on an election cycle, that's who wants to curry favor with the next administration. And since I
Right.
don't I don't personally agree with the values of either BlackRock or Blackstone, I don't want to vote for their candidates. I want to vote for a candidate who believes in the values that I value. Now, it doesn't mean that my candidate's going to win. And it doesn't, unless I can convince, all of you listening to vote for my candidate, it's not going to change, right? Because
That's
change
what Tony is
happens,
saying. Yep.
yeah, change happens very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Change that happens quickly is often violent and bloody. And that's not necessarily the world that I want to live in because I have children living in this world and I don't want to leave that type of a world to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I would
Right.
choose to be in spaces with people that I don't necessarily agree with so that we can talk through these things and we can come to an agreement and decide how we want our community to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we had the answers, we would have already fixed all of our problems, right? So now, instead of just fighting with our neighbors, my personal, humble opinion is I would rather reach out to my conservative cousins and ask them,
Yes.
how do you want to deal with the debt crisis?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's the communication. You always have to keep that open if you want change, because once you stop talking, we're never going to see any change. It's just never going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
And it's also the deep state, the corruption, like everything, all these past episodes that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Until they are eradicated, I don't even think that we will actually see like real change in that sense of like literally changing the entire system. But you see what Becky said? She said vive la différence. I
Yes.
agree with that, and that's why like last time I didn't really touch on the subject of appreciating our political differences, because when me and you and everybody saw what happened with Ron Pomo on the previous stream, and
Which was
I'm still
crazy.
like I'm still processing what happened. Like
That
it's
was
taking me a
crazy.
minute, but that's the thing, right? He wasn't really appreciating our political differences. There wasn't a discourse. It was more like argumentative. It was aggressive. It was like there was no room for debate or like questioning. It was kind of more of like an attack rather than just listening and doing what we're doing here, right? We all have different opinions, but we're open-minded enough to listen. We
Mm-hmm.
need to appreciate our differences,
Yeah.
and through those little differences we can pick up the crumbs of everybody's opinions and form a big puzzle that all of us can unite again like that, and we can have
yes,
one clear objective and one clear like real enemy. We're not enemies, the people. We're not enemies. They always want to divide us by race, by class, by
Mm-hmm.
money, by
yeah,
material things that don't matter. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what the distraction is. It's them who are the real enemy. It's the deep state. It's the globalists. It's the people who are so rich that they don't, they'll never have to work a day in their life. So they need something to do with it. And instead of helping people, it's just pure evil that we're seeing right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that comment that Becky put. And I wanted to share this. If you Tony, oh, I
Yeah.
almost said your real name. Did you see the video that Jimmy did with XJW Analyzer? This video?
Oh, no. I feel like I started it, but I never finished it.
Okay, because I wanted to play just a few, like 3 minutes of their opening. And this was
Yeah.
a really great conversation. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, you need to see this. It's amazing. I love their friendship. I love how they could come together because they're polar opposites. And that's why I love having Jimmy here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love having different people. So
Yeah.
I want to bring this up because it's like he didn't have that, what I'm like, that privilege of having people accepting to a different political opinion or like appreciating political differences and things like that. And they kind of just brush you off, they block you, they get rid of you just because you believe something weird or like a conspiracy or whatever. So he goes
Mhm.
on to just explain a little bit about it. So I'm just gonna play like about four minutes of it.
Okay.
And that's fine too. But I'm just sharing my experience within the XJW community when it comes to the political side. When I decided, and we're going to talk about our paths, but when I decided to bring political information into the XJW community because I wanted to help people understand this stuff, I faced a lot of backlash, a ton of backlash.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, I had even people that I thought were really good friends saying, Jimmy, you shouldn't post that. You shouldn't say this. And I'm like, guys, this needs to be said. And then once I started going a little bit further and further, I mean, and I've said it before, and you may have already heard me say it, I've been stabbed in the back more by XJWs from the left liberal side than any time in my life being stabbed in the back, because they get tribal. They say we're stupid. They say this, they say that. And, you know, last night on Ruby's stream, there was one that came on there and basically just said he blocked Ruby because I don't like her. Well, you don't know anything about her. You haven't taken the time to learn anything about her. And I've always said that I'm open to having conversations with folks as long as they're mutually respectful. And I can do that. Me and John are proof of that. But when somebody starts gaslighting you or projecting or calling you names or saying, oh, you left one cult and went to another, I'm sorry, I'm going to push back on that. So.
Okay, so that was like the beginning of their awesome interview. And that's exactly why I created this space. And people told me, oh, don't even go there. Don't even do that. And I'm like, yeah, but we got to do it. We have to. Even if it's uncomfortable, we have to do it. Or else we wouldn't get our ideas out there. And it really would be an echo chamber. And we'll just believe whatever we believe. And we wouldn't like talk to people. And then you start realizing more, especially older people. Like I love talking to people who are older than me because we're new to this. We're brand new to this. We're just speculating. We're throwing ideas out there. We're like, okay, maybe this does exist or maybe this doesn't exist. We're still testing our worldview, and that's very shaky for me right now. Like one little thing, hairline, can really like switch it up for me. Like you said, the Truman Show. Once he stepped out of that, he was finally living a real life. Once we stepped out of that and we stopped thinking of just this JW closed mindset, now I'm open to literally everything. And then it kind of hurts my brain physically. And I'm like, oh, I got a headache because I'm thinking so much. I've never thought this much in my life. But then when you realize how much corruption there is, how much evil, it kind of gets you a little like depressed. Like, where are the good guys? When is Jesus coming back? Honestly, because he needs to come back. Like, that's how I'm thinking. I'm like, you know, when he said you will see these signs at the end of the times, right? Because you told me, Tony, you said we are living in the phase of however long that's gonna take of the last days. We don't know how long it's gonna take, right? But then that's when I told like WDH on the other streams, I'm like, but right now we have to live in the present. What are we going to do right now with the resources we have now, with the freedom we have now? We cannot take it for granted. Like I told you, we have to vote. Even if you don't vote two-party system, you know, red and blue, at least pick something else. Like that's why I love Lucy, because she brings the perspective of third party. She's the one who shared me the election, the freedom election. And that's when I actually found out that I'm a constitutionalist. To be honest, I would switch my party tomorrow, you know, if it was before the deadline. Because after I saw those debates, I was thinking, oh, I'm just a Christian conservative. I'm just a patriot. I'm just this. Like, I didn't really have like a party that I could align with. Like, this was a 100% me. And once I saw that, and thanks to Lucy, I could finally call myself a constitutionalist with, you know, like I went to the website, I did the research, I listened to the guy. I was like, Randall Terry is my guy. Like, everything he says, I'm like, yo, where have you been, bro? And it kind of comes from our background of like activism, people who actually care about people who are willing to go to jail for their activism. It's like a MLK, Malcolm X type of time period we're living in again. It's like we need to step up to that government. We need to protest. We need to start bringing the cabal down, because that is who is causing divisions. That's just my opinion. How do you guys feel about that?
Woo, can we hear an amen?
Amen.
Well, I can tell you that Jill Stein was helping the students, I think, on the Iowa campus, and she ended up going to jail. The police officers arrested her. They were protesting the massive amount of money that the U.S. is sending to Israel to bomb Gaza. And so she's a person who puts her body on the line, and she's willing to do that kind of stuff to make a statement that we have to stop these endless wars. I don't want any more children to die. Just like
Right.
you, Ruby. I want your children to grow up in a safe and healthy and educated life. And I want the same for Tony. I want the same for Jimmy. That's what I want. I don't want anyone to feel forced over.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
Good evening, everyone. How y'all doing?
Good.
Hey,
Doing good.
is the feedback okay? Because it's raining out here and I'm in the cage and it's a metal roof. Is there too much background sound?
No.
No, I can hear you fine.
Okay, well, that's because it kind of slowed down on the raining. But if it does pick up again, I'll mute myself or whatever.
Okay.
Y'all doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has your brain recovered any, Ruby?
Yes, but I am having anxiety. Like I'm having mental blocks. Like I'm noticing the symptoms of waking up again, and it's coming back. And that's why when we talk, I told you it physically hurts to think this deeply and to open my head. And it's hurting, but I can't ignore it. I cannot regurgitate the red pill and throw it out. It goes down and again and again and again. It's like it happens. It just happens. And then I talk to Tony and she goes, "Oh, it's rigged." And I'm like, "No, bro, you gotta understand. Like this is what happened." And it's just so much. But that's why I said we need to tackle them. They are the enemy. Once we get them out, the evil can stop at least, because they are the ones who are producing this evil. They worship the devil quite literally. And that video you sent me, and you can dive into that if you want to. It kind of describes people's roles in bringing down that corruption, and they call them white hats. And I've heard you say that before. But I've never brought it up. I just let you talk. Like I'm just listening to you. I'm listening. And then they called the other ones black hats, green hats, yellow hats, red hats. Like everything is symbolic. Everything means something. And I get it. So even though I don't really agree with the whole Q stuff, at least I can agree with the roles, assigned roles of like, there's going to be people for this. There's going to be people for this. That's just the way the world works. But how do you think we can combat corruption?
All right. So first off, I want to ask you this. Is there truth in the statement that I have said many times with the XJWs? Once you wake up from one cult, you realize you're in another one.
Possibly. Yeah. You just have multiple awakenings. You just realize that the world runs and just spins differently than what you thought it did.
Yeah, this is why I tell XJWs, yeah, I'm happy. I'm seriously happy that you woke up from Watchtower and got out of it, but don't stop there. There is so much more to wake up to. And, when you were a Jehovah's Witness and someone would tell you something that went against Watchtower, you would laugh at them. You would say, "Oh, you're crazy. The governing body knows what they're saying. They know what they're doing. And we just got to wait on Jehovah, blah, 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 blah." And then when you get out of Watchtower and then someone tries to tell you something different, it's the same thing. "Oh, you're crazy. Oh, we just got it's a pattern." And folks have got to realize, and I saw the chat and everything, there's a lot of open-minded people in the chat. And there's still some that are not there yet, and that's okay. So I know what my mission is, and I stick to my mission, regardless of any backlash or condemnation that I receive, because I don't care. My mission is stronger than their rebuke. So I think that's it.
Jimmy,
I agree
hey,
with that.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How do you discover truth? Like if you, like, most of us will hear some information, and somebody, your friend or your workmate, will say, "Oh, that's stupid," or whatever. You shouldn't look into that. But then you go ahead and look into it, and you're like, "There's something really there." Like,
Let me give an example. Let's say you're going out to buy a brand new house. And before you go to that house to look at it, there's people that come in and they stage the house. They put furniture in there, they put pictures up, they put flowers out and things like that. And you walk into the house, and when you walk in, you see this beautifully decorated room, the living room. And then over on the left-hand side, you see a table with this beautiful bouquet of flowers. And you're like, oh, wow, that is a beautiful bouquet of flowers. As you get closer to that bouquet of flowers, you don't smell anything. You're starting to question, okay, are those real flowers? And then you get right up on the flowers, and then you start touching it. You start feeling it, and it feels plastic. And you go down and sniff, and you don't smell anything. So in your mind, that tells you that those flowers are fake. Those flowers are a lie. Now, you bought the house and you move in. Are you going to water those flowers every day just because they're beautiful flowers? No, you know it's a lie. And you examine it for yourself. And that's the same thing that folks need to do with all this information that is out there right now. You need to go and examine that flower. You need to touch it. You need to feel it. And you need to let your intuition do your thinking for you and not your emotions.
okay, I understand that, and I agree with that. However, there are certain subjects that I personally, as a human living in 2024, I don't have access to test out whether the moon landing actually happened.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff, I feel personally, distracts from the things that I can actually put my power to.
Yeah,
You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And here's a good example. I watched a video the other day, and it was on the topic, and we're not going to get into that topic. I'm using this topic as an example. That one of the guys was talking about the flat earth thing. And he was saying that people are like, well, why can't you prove it? Why can't you prove? Here's the thing. We want to prove it. They're just not allowing us to go visit Antarctica and travel across the ice wall to see if something's on the other side. We can't prove it because they won't let us. Do you know how many people, if we were allowed to, would make that trip to prove it to everyone? They're not.
I understand.
So what I'm saying is they have put out so many lies on whatever theory, whatever conspiracy theory you want to talk about. They've lied literally about everything. Everything. And so that's the first thing that folks need to put in their head or examine for themselves or whatever. They need to come to that conclusion that we've been lied to about everything. Now, since we know that, let me go and do some research and let me find out what the true information is. When it comes to the moon landing, why do the astronauts have stars on the Walk of Fame? Why did they destroy their technology back in the 70s and say, oh, we can't go again? Which our technology is much more advanced today than it was back then.
Oddly enough, there are reasonable explanations for everything that you are saying.
Of
But
course
my
there
point,
is.
you're obfuscating from my question. My question was, okay, if 10 people come and tell you, Jimmy, this is not true, and you keep saying, no, it is true, and you just keep saying it's true, but other people are saying it's not true, at some point, you have to just say, okay, well, your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to be able to get to? Because again, I don't want to argue with you. I want to ally with you.
Exactly.
But I struggle with your methods because I feel like you stir people up in a way that is not productive. And that's what I personally struggle with, the rhetoric. It's not that I disagree with you, it's that I'm scared of the language that you use when you get people stirred up.
You know what I say to that, Lucy, and I say this with all due respect? Good. I'm glad I'm stirring people up, because that way they'll start thinking about things that I say and they will try to debunk what I say, and they end up finding out, holy crap, maybe Jimmy was right. For an example, I'll give you a perfect example. Go back to CV. March, I did put out a thing on my Facebook page. I said, don't worry, folks. It's just a 2-week staycation. Just stay home and get caught up on your chores around the house. Okay, I was buying the narrative. But then in April, things to me didn't make sense, And so when I was talking to John, I said, I'm not buying this whole CV thing. I'm not buying this whole, we got to walk where the arrows tell us to walk. We got to stay 6 feet apart. We got to wear a mask that only has, it's like putting up a fence to keep mosquitoes out. There's scientific proof for that. I was saying all that stuff. And I was like I said in the video that Ruby played a little while ago, I was getting tons of backlash. What has happened since then? The information has come out. The scientific evidence has come out proving that what I was thinking about in April of 2020 was correct. Now, at the time, all I can say is my intuition was helping me with that. Just things didn't make sense. I didn't look at it through the mainstream media lens. I didn't look through it through a political lens. I used some common sense. And it just didn't make sense to me. And if something doesn't make sense to me and I see a pattern of it not making sense, then I can honestly believe in my heart that that's a lie.
Okay.
And so
I understand. Can I rebut?
Yeah, absolutely.
On that part, just because I believe you, your anecdotal information about how you lived and how you survived is how we evolve as a society together. You survived CV because you did X, Y, and Z, which was directly against what people were telling you to do. That exactly. You will take that information and you will then give that information to other people and they will do different things with it. I survived CV as well, but I survived a different way. And I think you and I have talked about it. Now, knowing what
She cut out.
The facts are, I was limited with the information that I had at the time. And so I had to make a decision based on survival. So like, this is what you are describing is exactly how societies evolve when we talk about these things. I couldn't have done it your way. I would have died if I had done it your way. So I survived, but I will get to tell my story a different way. Do you see what I'm saying? But both of us are right because we're both here, right?
Yeah, I would say that. I would ask you this, though. You said that you made the comment you would die. How did you say that?
I probably would have died had I taken the same actions that you did at the time. Just I was in a situation where I was surrounded by it, and I had to protect myself. Do you understand what I'm saying?
All
I'm
right,
trying
so
not to say the bad words. Sorry.
I'm just curious on how you would have died if you didn't go my route. I'm just curious.
I would have caught the disease at an earlier stage, and I have a lung condition,
Okay.
and I would not have survived it.
Okay. All right. And you made that decision based on the information you had at the time.
Based on the fact that I did get COVID 2 years later, and I almost died then, and it was a lighter dose of it at that point in time. So like, I was gonna get it no matter what, but the version that I got, I'm appreciative that it had moved through other people and had evolved and had gotten weaker by the time it got to me. That's just how science works. So,
Did
you know,
can I ask you this question? Have you ever looked up information showing that all viruses have a patent?
all viruses have you're talking about like a patent, like a human patent?
Like an invention. When you invent something and you're like, hey, I want to present this to the world, you have to go and get a patent on it, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just check that out. All viruses have a patent. And
Okay,
why?
again, why are you trying to stir things up? I don't really care about any of this stuff. I actually care about what Ruby has to talk about tonight, which is political intrigue. And I'm not I don't.
You asked me, and this actually all applies. It actually goes into the political intrigue.
I asked you about how you test for truth, and I think I got the info. I think you gave me your best description of how you discover truth. However,
one thing to add on to that, Lucy, to add on to how I discovered truth, is I spend hours researching stuff, and I did it back in 2020. And like I said, if you watch the video I did with John, I explained how I did that. I'm in a position where I'm self-employed. I don't have a 9-to-5 job to where I'm in a constricted schedule. I can stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning looking at different things, watching different videos. And what I do is I look for patterns. I look for what these people say and then how they act. And if it doesn't match up, then somebody's lying to me. And so that's one thing I look for. I look for a pattern. So with CV, you look for the pattern. When have they done this before? Oh, they did it with the Spanish flu, which didn't start in Spain. It started in Kentucky. They did masks back then too. So that didn't work. And then when I look at the jabby jab thing, I look at all these kids since 1980, the number of diseases in children have skyrocketed. Why have they skyrocketed? Well, kids are getting more of those things while they're younger. And then when I find out that these viruses are every one of them has a patent, that means to me that it was man-made. So then I think,
hold on, Jimmy. Do you know that the population of the U.S. is much greater today than it was back 120 years ago?
Oh yeah, of course, the world is.
Okay, well, there's reasonable explanations for some of the things that you are saying, and I'm just saying I don't see the point. I don't see the point in continuing to use language to scare people. If you want to educate people, I'm all about that. But I don't want to use this information, just like the Watchtower used information to hurt us and to scare us into acting like little robots. I feel like when you use language to scare people into making decisions where they don't have all the information at hand, you are being just as predatory as all the other things that we are trying to fight against. That's all I'm saying. And
Well,
I'm trying to be as
let me respond
kind
to
as
that.
possible.
Let me respond to that. My whole thing has been to educate people. I care about people. I'm not here to scare anyone. That is not my intention, to put fear in anyone, because I have always said that fear is a control mechanism. And I'm not trying to control you or your mind or anybody else. So I am not being predatory. So what I'm saying is, if what I say gets you feeling that way, as far as, oh my God, what's he saying? What's he talking? Then I want you to look and debunk what I want you to do that research.
I have. Thank you. I have.
I know, but the thing is when you said something about me wanting to educate folks, I try to do that, but then there's always a reasonable explanation to explain something.
But I don't want to argue with you. You are dead set on this. I don't want to change your mind. I just simply disagree. I did the research. I saw you on a video like a year and a half ago explaining your flat earth thing, and I fell in that hole hard for 2 weeks because I have autism, so I got really stuck in that hole, and I had to call a friend. And we did this research together, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is so easy to debunk. Why is he still preaching it a year and a half later? It's just, I'm sorry. It's so easy.
It depends on where you're getting your research from. If you're doing all your research on Google, then you're being misled.
No, I'm not.
If
Again, I don't want to argue with you.
I know. I'm not. This is
yes, you are, because now you're questioning my resources. I'm not in your mind. You're still a JW. You won't let me have my opinion. I'm not trying to force you to believe the same way I am, Jimmy, but you are trying to force me to believe your way.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Have I ever told you, Lucy, I want you to believe the exact way I do?
But you're arguing with me. You're telling me my resources. Like
Okay,
why can't we just say,
when it comes to Google, has it been proven that they have a left-leaning ideology?
I don't use Google.
I'm take that out of the equation. I'm just asking, as an example, hasn't Google been proven that they have a left-leaning ideology?
Yes, they do. That's why I don't use them.
All right. So we know they're bought and paid for. Even if you go and look at some of these college professors or these scientists, can they not be bought as well?
Anywhere there's money, there is going to be influence. It's where the money is.
So what I'm saying about research is, when you do research, are you checking to see, and this is just in general, not just you specifically, are you checking to see who the author is? Who does that author work for? What's this paper or this professor putting this stuff out? Who supports them? Where's the money coming from? Who's pushing that agenda? Instead of just reading the article and accepting it for what they say, I go deeper. I find out who put that thing together. Who do they work for? Who's controlling them? Who gives that university money? I go deeper. That's all I'm saying, Lucy, is some folks, they don't dive as deep as I do. And that's fine. But you can't say that I'm acting like a JW or that I'm being predatorial just because I dig deeper than most folks.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it because right now, tonight, you're telling me that you are not trusting my resources. You're questioning where I've gone and done my research. And I just told you, I did a deep dive. Yes, I went deeper than you and found out all that stuff that you're talking about. I agree with you, but I came to the different conclusion than you did.
Okay.
That's the weird thing. I agree with you, but I have come to a different conclusion than you.
And that's fine. But let me ask you this, going back to that, since you mentioned, I don't think I ever did a flat earth video. I was on a video with David and another panel of XJWs, but I went on there for questioning and I was
Right.
curious. I was asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
I've not done a flat earth video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
You
question.
didn't. I'm sorry. I spoke wrong. You were a guest, yes, and it did trail off into that topic. And yes, you are correct. I don't think it was specifically about that, but yeah.
Okay. So when
Yeah,
it comes, and this is just an example, I'm just asking you, I'm not trying to get, but this, did you know what was written in the 1958 Encyclopedia Britannica about Antarctica? Do you know about that? Do you know where they mentioned the measurements for a dome in the encyclopedia?
Yes.
You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the very next year, the Antarctic Treaty was signed and NASA was formed, and that was taken out of all the encyclopedias. Why?
Well, okay. Yes, that's the same thing as the person who commented on Vern's channel earlier today talking about the UN thing. I like to focus on what's happening today. More conspiracy things are happening today. So the lady said the UN just passed something and they're going to try to take a deeper control over what's happening globally, right? So
Okay.
what you're talking about is total global domination. When you can change the Encyclopedia Britannica, you are basically saying, I am so big that I can change history, I can change the meaning of a word, right?
Correct.
Which country has that type of power and influence?
It's not a specific country.
Okay.
It goes back to the groups of families and people and the unelected bureaucrats.
Yeah. I know.
And I know you said that we want to live in the present, but if we don't go back and look at the lies we've all been told, how are we to recognize lies that they may be telling us right now?
I know, but there's a way to tell people, to lead people through the history without making them feel terrified that they can't do anything.
And I get that, Lucy. And here's the thing. A lot of people, for so many years, I'm just going to say the American people, we have been dormant. We have been passive.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have, and it's partly our fault because
There's
we
8 million people who are being passive right now, and they are being kept there on purpose, right? We all know that.
Yes. And okay, you interrupted me there for a second. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hang on.
Being kept passive.
Okay, yeah. So the American people, we've been distracted by entertainment, sports, movies, being stuck on a hamster wheel, working 9 to 5, which was all by design anyway, that we just accepted the fact that our government was doing right by us. Everybody just accepted. Now, I'm not going to say everybody, because there's been a lot of people throughout the years who have been calling this stuff out. And they've all been viewed as being crazy and lunatic. Like George Carlin. He said it's a big club and you ain't in it.
He was right.
He was exactly
right?
He was
a prophet.
So when I say there is a global organization that is doing everything they can to keep all of humanity under their thumb, why am I looked at as being a crazy conspiracy theorist? But Carlin, you just said, was a prophet. I'm not saying that I'm a prophet or anything, but it's the same thing. I'm getting blowback for the things that I say that are triggering to folks.
I just told you that I agree with you. However, I came to a different conclusion when I got done with my research.
And the only important thing about that, Lucy, is, and for you and me both, if new information comes out that disproves your conclusion or my conclusion, do we have the ability to change?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I believed for my whole life that there was a God that made two people, and those two people didn't have belly buttons, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I enjoy this type of debate. I'm not arguing with you, Lucy. I love you. You know, you're awesome.
I love you too, Jimmy. I
And,
want you to succeed.
and I'm not, and please don't confuse me vigorously debating my stance with arguing with somebody, because I'm not doing that. I will ask questions and try to dive deeper into the debate and see where you stand on things. And that goes back to what Ruby was going to talk about earlier about the different hats that people wear. The black hats,
Right.
the red hats, the green hats, the yellow hats. Explains all that. So what I'm able to do now that I've heard it put that way, I know what hat I'm wearing, and when I talk to somebody, I can figure out where they're at, and then that helps me to be able to communicate with them. And the rain's getting ready to start again, so let me know if it gets too loud, guys.
Okay. Well, that was awesome. Welcome, Gigi.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to say one thing about flat Earth. I don't know anything for or against, and I don't know anything for or against Antarctica. You know, I believe it though. I believe what Jimmy's saying about that encyclopedia thing. But I talked to somebody, and let me just run this by you to see what you think. It was a really interesting thought. What if those mountains are not mountains? They really are tree stumps, and they're tree. And if you're in Arizona, and you see that mountain and that tree stump, and you say, "Oh my God, that tree must have reached the high heavens, and that would have created an ecosystem." Imagine if we can actually see Antarctica. Or imagine if the United States government would actually let us go into northern Grand Canyon, which is all forbidden. So what this guy was trying to tell me, and he was a religious guy, he said, they don't want you to see how beautiful. Because if you could actually see how beautiful everything is, you couldn't control the people. And so looking at it from that angle, so when Jimmy's talking about holding back information, it's like, say, for example, you're on a date, right? But if that girl puts on a bikini, that changes everything. The guy's like, oh my God, he's going to work full time and get the ring because he sees the whole beauty of it. And that's, I think, part of the problem with our government, with Antarctica, with the flat Earth. They're holding back the beauty, and that keeps people busy in the daily grind.
Yep.
So it was just a thought. And I was really taken aback because I've never heard anybody come with it. And that person was my brother Jesse. I just wanted to throw that at you. That was just a really interesting angle.
Well, along with that, Gigi, if you look at it, everything that we see is always dark, dreary. Oh, there's no way out of this. It's always death, destruction, war, pandemics, food crisis. There's nothing beautiful about any of that. But who's pushing it?
Right. And that's why I'm so glad that when you shared the documentary with me, I watched it. I tried to be open-minded. I tried to understand where they were coming from. And then I got so curious that I reached out to the man who was in the documentary, because I remember he was on that panel with you. And that's my goal, is to entertain every theory, to entertain every spectrum of politics and just theories in general, because it opens our minds. And I do agree with Lucy. That's the fear, that sometimes we don't want to like listen to something or hear something because it can rock our worldview. Like that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. That's when my brain starts hurting, because I'm like, maybe I'm thinking too much, or I don't want to like depress myself or whatever. But that's why I say, when you showed me the other video about the different roles that people will play in this awakening process that people always talk about, that there's going to be a new way forward. We need to change government. We need to vote differently. Those are the people who we need to lean on. Those are the good guys who are going to indict everybody, convict everybody, sentence all these people that have committed crimes against humanity. Or, all these people, even in the COVID situation, it was not that long ago. And I consider that to be a crime against humanity, how many people have died.
Yeah.
So it's like, once we start seeing that, then I could feel a little bit better at night. But right now, like I told Tony, we don't have time to be speculating or brainstorming. We have an election coming up in November. And that's what we have to be focused on. Quite honestly, we need to be focused on who is going to be the best person to take down that cabal. They cannot be a part of it, obviously. Like, we need to get fresh, new people. We need to have somebody who's going to take us out of here and drain the swamp, or whatever, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I want to just make one more statement on a comment that Lucy said about me saying things to scare folks. I have put it when I was on Facebook before I got banned. I put this post out there several times, and I've actually put up some memes on X about it as well. I care about people. I really do. And I want people to be successful, and I want people to wake up and see the world for what it is. But I've said this: I'm not here to scare you, but I am here to destroy the illusion of reality that we've been sold. That's what I'm doing. I will destroy your reality that you thought was true by facts, evidence. Yeah, I want to do that. I'm not here to scare you, but I want you to, and I'm not saying you specifically, Lucy, I'm just saying in general. I want you to start questioning things that I say and why I say them, instead of just jumping like Ron Pimo did with Ruby. Oh, I don't like her. Do you think I woke up one day thinking that I was going to speak out this stuff and get backlash, get banned? Do you think I woke up one day and said, hey, that'll be a fun thing to do?
Yeah.
No, I know. I totally understand. I mean, I have an ego to protect as well. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm not looking at the screen on purpose because I don't know how many people are on my side or how many people are against me. So
that doesn't matter. Just having that. Okay. Yeah, just having that.
I get it.
Just having the, and I say this with all due respect, just having the thought of who's on my side, who's on Jimmy's side, is that productive?
No, I'm saying that in response to what you said, you want people to agree with you.
No,
right?
I did not say that. I did not say that. I said I want to destroy the reality or the illusion of the reality that people live in. Just like George Carlin was doing back in the day, that's what he was doing. He was destroying the illusion that people thought they were living in.
Well, I think people paid money to go see him. I personally don't want to destroy anyone's illusion. I would like to gently guide them through the process.
Why? Do you want that person to believe that flower, those flowers sitting on the table are real and that they should keep watering them?
Jimmy, do you remember how painful it was when you lost your faith?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you know how painful it was for me to have my reality of life outside of Watchtower destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It's painful. And that's what you're saying, that you want to wish on other people. You're saying it out loud.
Yes, because
with your full chest.
Yes, because growing requires pain.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, but people have to be willing to take the medicine, right? People
I agree with that.
Want to. Okay.
I agree with that.
You don't have to force people to go to,
I'm not forcing anybody, Lucy. I'm just very animate about what I say.
I know you're passionate. You're very passionate.
Passionate. That's a better word. And I don't back down from anything that I believe unless proper evidence is brought to me to make me think the contrary. Yeah,
I understand, but I don't feel feel personally that I need to destroy your reality.
And
Like,
that's
I
fine.
don't, you
That's
know?
fine. That's fine. That's your path through this. My path
Okay.
is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And we all, I want to be in the group that celebrates everybody's journey because I think we all want to be at the same place
We
eventually.
do, and that's the thing. Most human beings, they just want to be able to feed their family, put a roof over their head, be left alone, have freedom to travel. You know, that's generally what most everybody wants. But we get caught up with
Mm-hmm.
everything else that keeps us all from getting to that end goal. And
Yes.
there's somebody putting those rocks in our place. There's somebody introducing this religion or this political faction. There's always something to stumble the will of humans to all just be able to get along and live their lives without being ruled.
Right.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
I
Go
kind of
ahead, King. Go
I
ahead,
kind
King Tony.
of agree with both Jimmy and Lucy. I understand Lucy, and like, not there's a lot of people that may not take Jimmy the way he wants them to kind of be receptive in a sense because of how he comes out, which is understandable. But then there's other people that are receptive to how Jimmy comes out and how he expresses himself and his passion. So there's pros and cons to it, I think. And I think that that everyone has just a different way of receiving things, and we just all have to respect that, and that's it.
Yeah, I have different ways of doing things as far as the way I interact with people. Like in my business, in my insurance business, I don't go to an appointment and tell this person, if I'm selling a cancer policy, I don't do this. Oh, do you know how bad cancer is? Do you know how it destroyed this family? It killed them financially. It killed them this way. I don't scare the people into buying the insurance that I offer. I ask them questions on how could a policy like this help you out? Do you see value in something like this to help you out when your major medical doesn't pick up the bills? I get them to look at things like that versus using a scare tactic to sell something to somebody. And so I do that in the same manner with what I do with my activism. It's just I'm a little stronger about it. It's like, when I'm a sell, I'm like, don't you see value in this? I don't do that to a customer. And I try not to do it in what I do, but sometimes I get passionate about it and I see things and I'm like, how can people still be buying this? And that gets me a little excited. And I'm not perfect, but like Tony said, I've got people that resonate with the way I do my message. I got people that don't. That's fine. I don't care which side you're on. It's not going to take me away from what I'm doing. It doesn't matter.
But we
Right.
do more like Lucy too, who's able to kind of ease them into it, you know.
Right.
It's like Ruby. I haven't been sending her everything. I've been easing Ruby into some of this stuff.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've had our conversations. She's just like going crazy, and her mind
Well,
is.
okay. Well, this is the thing. You see exactly what you were talking about with Lucy's perspective. That's how I used to feel, and I used to feel like you too, Tony. I used to feel like, oh, let's just take it slow, don't like throw it in people's faces, just put little, Easter eggs and let people come to that conclusion. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Mhm.
But that's why I created this public platform, because you're only going to be here if you want to be here. You know what I'm saying? So if it's not for somebody, like I saw Dinah in the chat, she was like, she lives with a political victim or something, she said in the comments, and that every time they hear us, they go a little crazy. I get that. This is not going to be for everybody, just like certain things are just not for everybody. Sometimes you have to take a time out and just live life, just touch grass again, you know what I'm saying? Like, but for people who are already at this stage of the journey, like I am, like I told you, Tony, I'm past you already, you know, like I used to think like that, and I'm so like past that. But I know where you're coming from because I used to think that way. That's what allows me to do this and not feel like I'm losing my mind or like have that anxiety or that depression, is because it's like I looked over that hedge already and I found the solution already. It's like and I'm still searching for that solution. I'm still searching for the truth. I'm still coming into contact with people like Jimmy, like Lucy, like you, like me, like Dave, that flat earther guy. And I would have never thought that I would talk to people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I would never entertain these types of thoughts. But if we don't do it, if we don't force ourselves sometimes, you're never going to grow. You're going to be stagnant for years. You're going to continue to believe in a system that doesn't work anymore. Every movement that has happened, especially in America, did not come through passive change. It came with radical change sometimes. It came with violence sometimes. You know, Martin Luther King and those times, they were getting beat, but they were getting beat for change. Like they were going to prison, but they were trying to make change, making history. You know what I'm saying? Like there is no easy way. Sometimes you gotta go that way to make change, so that the world looks at America and says, oh my God, what is America doing? They need to change. And that worldwide pressure can actually help us with other countries disagreeing with it and saying, yeah, you need to abolish the 3-letter agencies. You need to abolish the banking system. You need to abolish these things because it's creating crimes against the rest of the world, not just America. Correct. And that's where we can come together and say as a worldwide that what America is doing is they became the very thing that they were fighting against. They became tyrants. They became the bull. And we are not that. That's not the type of America that we are. That's why they try to demonize Make America Great Again. We're not talking about that America. We're not talking about corporate America. We're not talking about money America. We are talking about Americans, us. We make this country move. We make the economy move. We need to boycott with our dollar. We need to protest with our dollar. We need to take advantage of our vote. We need to do those things. So even though I agree, the system is bad, it's rigged, it's a mess, but we gotta, like Tony told me, we gotta rig it the other way. We gotta put the system and rig it to our will, and then abolish those agencies, abolish those things, and cleanse government. Go ahead, Lucy. Lucy unmuted herself, and then we'll go to Jimmy. Go ahead, Lucy.
Oh yeah, I was just saying yes to all of that. Yes, and yes. We got to get out there and do what we can. You know, not like twisting arms, and I don't believe in the picking up sticks and hitting our neighbors. But yes, if we can get out there and encourage people to register to vote, and you find out what's in your local area. Like here we have some propositions that are going to be voted on locally. So, I want to be educated. I want to be able to talk to my neighbors about it. So it really starts locally.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I guess what I want to say is that as far as, Tony saying we need to rig it the other way, or, we need the global community to, put some pressure on the United States corporation, like you said, Ruby, to make those changes. My message is, and this is the part where people get hung up on. My message has been that rigging that Tony talks about or wants to see has been happening. It's just not in the public mainstream. There's millions of people, not just in the United States, but millions of people around the world that are telling folks the same exact thing I've been saying about there's something else going on that is changing the way we live, the way we've been living for all this time. And that's what I get brushed back against. I'm trying to give people hope for the future, of trying to show them that there are things taking place that are
Yeah.
changing for the better, but yet I get called a conspiracy theorist because of that.
I feel like that's
Right.
the quick go-to though, so that's nothing personal.
What's
Right.
that?
Right.
I
She
said
said it's
that-
nothing personal.
It's nothing personal. That's the quick comeback always.
Oh yeah, it's always, well, it's just like with Watchtower. Oh, are you being an apostate now? When you start questioning things, you're actually a full NJW, and you start to question things, and your friend's gonna say, "What? Are you becoming an apostate now?"
Yeah, like
Right. Because you're thinking for yourself and you're saying things that are gonna disrupt the tranquility in that hall because they're all like zombies and they
It's
don't
the-
think for themselves.
Somebody-
Yes, every XJW has done exactly what I said I wanted to do with this mission. If they've talked to a family member, and you woke somebody up from out of Watchtower, you have destroyed the illusion of their reality.
Right. Lucy,
So
Lucy, did
somebody-
you want to say something?
Well, somebody in the chat earlier on Vern's channel said that when somebody has doubts, they call it funny thinking now.
Mhm.
Oh, really? That's funny. Funny thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Gigi. Gigi is back. Go ahead, Gigi.
Oh, hey, you know what? Because what you guys are talking about is what can you do for your country, and all the things that you're saying is true. And you know what? I'm going to show you later on a video from Nayib Bukele. He's the president of El Salvador, and he was talking about this. And I put that on the comment section, kind of like what he was saying, and it has to do with the Chinese proverb: "He who blames others has a long way to go. He who blames himself is halfway there. But he who blames no one has arrived." And the reason why is because he's busy doing. And so, yeah, you know, Lucy's right. You know, you have to be active. When she said that, a lot of times we find out that the problems that we have is because we're complaining and we're not doing. So, like when you're over here talking, Ruby, about being involved in the school board or something, you know, that's the answer. I think the person who put it the best in the United States right now is James O'Keefe, because his motto is just do something. You see, there is no one answer. The answer is, I think, you know, even Jesus said, you know, the evil slave that hid his talent, that, you know, all you do is complain about everything. But then when they ask you, what did you do? Yeah, you know, the room is silent. So that's what it is. Everyone has to pick something, and it's not better than the other. Not everybody can be Donald Trump, you know,
Mhm.
but everybody can do something, and that's the point. And
Mhm.
and I'll send you. You'll see it. It's a beautiful video about the and it's in Spanish and English in subtitles. But he explains all of the great things that he's doing in the country, and people are still complaining, but
Mhm.
they're not getting anything done. But that's the whole point. If you're watching this video and say, well, what can I do? That's for, you know, that's what you got to do. You know, like in my voting ballot, it says, shine your light, let your light shine. That's what it means.
Can I speak to that?
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
I covered all the bases. No, just kidding.
Gigi, you think about this. This is my personal experience. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, I really bought into what they were selling. And I went out and I pioneered and I got accepted to Bethel and I did all this stuff because I felt like I was literally helping people.
Mhm.
I thought I was bringing people closer to God. I thought I was helping change their lives. And then when I woke up and found out that that was all BS and I helped no one, when I went down this political path, my goal of wanting to truly help people at a very young age, I wanted that to actually be real.
Mhm.
And that's why I do what I do, because I've got grandkids. I got 9 grandkids.
Mhm.
And I don't want them to look at me and think, oh, what did Papu do during the 2020s? Did he stand up? Did he speak out?
Right.
I want them to know that I did everything I could to secure a better future for them.
Well, let me help you
Right.
with that answer, because what happens is this: everybody has to go through this. what you just described. And I'll put it to you real simple so you can understand. There was a lot of people who helped Dick Cheney become vice president. And what are they thinking now? Like, oh my God, I was associated with Dick Cheney. You know, they see it. That's like a Jehovah's Witness. So whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, you know, Jehovah's Witness, whatever, it's like every human being has to experience this. That it's called youth inexperience. We buy into the lie. But at some point in our life, in our adulthood, we have to wake up from the slumber. So
Yep.
I don't judge harshly the people that are young, the 20, 30-year-olds that are still going through the process. But man, when you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you're still, you know, yeah, there's a problem.
Ruby, do you have that clip of Rico Basse explaining the different hats? I think it's about 5 minutes long or something, where he goes through each one of them. Do you have that? Because I think if you play that tonight, that will help folks, because it did help me when he explained it. Because now I know, you know, we've been always told, you know, don't throw your pearls before swine. Because I know different hats that people are wearing in this matrix. Shout out to WDH for that one. I can, I can author my comments and my debate, I guess you could say, to that type of person, because there are different people. There's different categories in this Great Awakening. There's different, and that explains it really well. So if you could find that, that would be great to play.
Okay, yeah, I have it here. I'm gonna share my tab in a second. I'm gonna get it. Yellow hats.
I hope it. I hope it's where he goes through. He starts with the black, I think. But I think that would be really good for folks to watch.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I picked up a new light for the cage. I didn't have candles this time. I got me a new light this week.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you let me know when you wanna stop it.
Black hats. And at the other end, we've got the white hats. In between, we have the population. Now, right alongside the black hats are what we call the red hats. The red hats, they have no conscience. As long as you pay them, they will do whatever they need to do to get that money. And they will follow instructions, even if it's, we want you to go kill people. Yeah, no problem. We want you to fly planes and spray chemicals over the people that will cause deformities and death. No problem. How much you're paying them? Now, the red hats will only move once the black hat's arrested. The moment the black hat gets arrested, the red hats will start talking because they're cowards. Moves the orange hats. Evidence of crime. So the orange hats are genuinely good people, but very naive. And that evidence of crime must be delivered by the same face that has been telling them one set of lies. Then that same face needs to tell them a different set of truths, because they will believe it. Because if you get on there or I get on there, they say, I'm not going to believe him. But if they get a trusted face telling them the same crook, that's why the media will be one of the last groups to go, because the white hats have to use the media to communicate the truth to the orange hats, because the orange hats will get from a trusted news reporter. Today, the Prime Minister of Greece was found in bed with 15 little boys. Oh my God, it must be true because what's his name said it. Make sense? And now, if you're watching carefully, more stories are coming out. What does that tell you? And certainly in Australia, we're now getting stories of politicians and pedophilia. That never happened here. It was always covered up, never made it to the airwaves. But the fact that it's coming out now means two things. One, the white hats are controlling the media more and more. Two, the orange hats are going to start seeing evidence of crime in their trusted institutions, and it's coming from the media. So the media is going to tell them you can't trust the politicians, you can't trust the judges, you can't trust the police, you can't trust the military, you can't trust the local priest, in a way, and they will believe it. And that's going to move the orange hats. They will now join us and say, my God, it's terrible. Then you've got the yellow hats. And these are not good people. Not because they're bad. They're not evil. They don't care about anything except this. They're the ones that put their hands over there. No, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. No. They will do anything to keep left alone. They will pay more tax. They will stay at home. They will wear a mask. They will get a jab. Just leave me alone. Please don't affect my mortgage payments on my house. They will jab their kids rather than lose their house. Now, what moves these people? And this is a big chunk of the population and growing, because the jab has adversely affected the psychology of the people who received it. So the yellow hats are now a bigger group because they are now turning into, okay? Now, the fear of staying where they are is greater than the fear of moving into something new. That's the only thing that'll move a yellow hat. They won't shift. They will literally bury their head in the sand, leaving their ass pointing upwards and hoping the threat will go away. But when they realize that threat is so great, they will pull their head out of the sand and run. And so the white hats have to use a different set of techniques on the orange and the yellow hats. And that yellow hat might be a scare event. Make sense now? So you've got the red hats being shown, black hats arrested. You've got the orange hats being shown from the corrupt media that the people they believe in are crooks. You've got the yellow hats who are now need a scare event. Then you got the green. You got the green hats. The green hats are the ones that have moved along. All of a sudden they're going, I don't know. This is not, something's wrong. They don't know what's going wrong, but they are out of this group over here. And they are the ones that we speak to. They're the ones that are open to persuasion. We say, ladies and gentlemen, look at the facts for yourself. And bit by bit, that group is starting to grow. They're starting to understand there are liars out there. Something's not right. You can't tell them about adrenochrome on day one because you lose them. But you start telling them about the things that they can swallow. And that green hat group is where we recruit. And then you've got the blue hats, that's us. We're out there right alongside the white hats doing what we can to advance as best we can victory in this war. And so that might be a sort of an explanation as to why different groups don't respond to the same motivation and why there are several elements to this war that have to be employed simultaneously to get enough people unequivocal support for what is going to come. If the price you are willing to pay for this is not your life.
Oh, well, he says right there, if the price you're not willing to pay is not your life, then
Right.
you're not doing something or whatever. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, thank you for playing that. That was really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting that Jesse and I had that same conversation today, but we didn't talk about hats. But it's like King Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that guy is saying, you know, you could throw a Bible text to it or a Bible story, and it's all the same. So, but this was excellent because he put it in a way that in 2024, it's very, you know, a young kid who's watching Twitter and YouTube, he can understand it. So that's the whole thing. It's this same story has been told generation upon generation in different ways. But yeah, kudos to that video, you know, because he explained it in what I call KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
For those that were asking, that is Colonel Riccardo Bossi. He's actually Italian, but he's an Australian citizen, and he works high up with the Alliance in the Australian side of things. That's who he is.
Now check it out, because I'll give you an example about the yellow hats and the different types of hats. And we'll bring up just one person, Nicodemus. Nicodemus saw everything that Jesus was doing. But then when they killed him, he was probably thinking, dang, if they killed Jesus, they're probably going to kill me too. You know, because I was talking to him late at night. And so yeah, people, there's different things that have to happen in society. And some people are just going to always stay the same, like the sheeple types. But some things are going to move and shake others into action. And when he was talking about the money thing, today it's called 401k. Back then it was called pieces of silver, right? 30 pieces of silver. Well, today you give somebody a 401k, a company car, a government car, a government Visa card, and he'll do all those things that guy's talking about. People will sell their soul and they'll sell out their country for a 401k and a promise of a pension. Yeah.
And this is why I've been telling folks the things you're seeing on the media right now, don't get too freaked out, because the message is not for the blue hats. It's not for the majority of the green hats. It's for the yellow and the orange. For example, the orange, he said on the orange that they won't believe it unless they see it on TV, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So during J6, what was the media saying? Oh, Donald Trump never asked for 10,000 National Guard troops. The Blue Hats already know he did because we had the evidence back then. But ever since that's happened, everybody that's an orange hat will believe the media. Well, what did the media do last week? They came out and proved with documents that Donald Trump did request and offer 10,000 National Guard troops. Now those orange hats are facing a dilemma. Oh my goodness. The media told us he didn't. Now the media is telling us he did. What's going on? And that starts their thinking process. And like Gigi said with the yellow hats, they're not going to move unless there is a necessary scare event. Because once people are threatened with the precipice of destruction, then they have the will to pull their head out of the sand and be like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you send that to me, Ruby?
Oh, I just did. So check your Discord. If anybody wants that video to look at that, I'm gonna have to. I don't know if I could put it in the chat.
Guys, we are living at the greatest time in history.
It's scary. It's scary.
It's scary, but it's beautiful. It's going to create anxiety, but it's also going to create euphoria. We are living in times that will be written in the history books for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking.
I believe that it's a time. It's no longer the generation of our fathers and their fathers and all these warmongers and all these people who, you know, they were under that false patriotism, like that false feeling of fighting for this country. It's like everybody's done with that. They're not buying the lies anymore. They're not going to send their sons and their daughters to the military. Certainly not gonna. Like before, I was so for it, and I was like, oh, we should do the young Marines. We should, you know, like I was super hype into that. And as soon as I woke up, I was like, absolutely not, because they're gonna send our sons and our daughters for the next war for their mafia type thuggery around the world, and I want no part of it.
Yep, you explained it perfectly. Mafia thuggery. It goes back to that video we shared. The plan to save the world, when it said, what happens when these criminals get to positions of higher power?
Exactly.
You are now being controlled by a criminal syndicate.
Ruby, show him what just broke right now, and I put it on the chat section.
Oh, look, what's that? I can't even see the chat.
It says a bankruptcy judge, we all know this, but he approved InfoWars to be liquidated and auctioned to help pay Sandy Hook families this November. It's already done. Wow. We already knew this was going to happen, but this is going to happen during the election. So, but the point is, it's real simple. It goes back to this whole conversation. So you have a whole bunch of people on whether you're Glenn Beck or Bill Maher or whoever, they're looking at this news differently than you and I. They're like, oh my God, that could be me. That could be me. All of these people that on YouTube that have millions and millions of views and that are on the political side, they're like, oh my God, this could be me. And that's what he's talking about, Jimmy, about the changing of the hats, or the Nicodemus, where he was hiding, talking to Jesus, but when they killed him, he had to make a decision. This is the time, and we're in this time where you cannot hide underneath a rock, like Jesus says, and be the evil slave that I hid my talent. No, you have to take a stand. Remember, he said you have to be hot or cold. You're going to be spit out. So whether you believe in Jesus or not, that's not the point. If you're hot or cold, you'll be able to survive, or well, not, but if you will die physically, spiritually, everything, if you are lukewarm.
Yeah, a lot of people, they just want to go back to normal. Normal wasn't working for us.
Correct.
So we're not going back to a normal. We are changing the world as we speak.
Yeah.
As we speak. As we are manifesting the way that we want to exist on this planet. Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah.
And so that's why because you played that video with the different hats, this is why like Lucy, I don't want to argue with anybody. I'll debate them, but I won't argue with them because I try to figure out which hat and which viewpoint they're coming from.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that I would love to debate you, but maybe we just need to set some boundaries, like some fair boundaries on how the debates are and
Lucy, I would love to have a conversation with you on the phone sometime if you want to do that. I would love
not
that.
not in private. It's got to be either public or
Okay,
not.
that's fine. That's fine. I
I
don't
don't
mind.
I don't have any need or desire to change your mind. And so there's no need for us to have a private conversation.
Mm-hmm. A debate is something that I would love to host because that would be super awesome. Our first XJW debate. We could pick a
That would
topic.
be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh,
That would be awesome. Oh, before I forget, there's one point that I wanted to bring back when Gigi was talking about halfway there, already there, the person who, stops, complaining and he's already there. And then he mentioned that, how I've spoken before about being a part of Moms for Liberty. It's a group that they go to the school boards, they go to the councils, and it's a group of mothers. Same thing with like Mamas for DeSantis. It was a group of mothers. It's like grassroots movements for whatever state you're from. I've actually signed up to campaign for the Vote No on Amendment 4 bill. On the ballot, there's an amendment coming up in Florida. And I signed up to volunteer to make phone calls and do surveys or, like talk to people in my community. And and
That's very cool.
You're doing your own phone. It's like you're ready.
phone witnessing. Yo, I had an idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but so the feeling's there, right? Like Jimmy said, I want to help people, I want to educate. That's totally me. And when you're calling people, you're not imposing your views, you're just taking a survey. How are you going to vote here? Would you like more information on this amendment? Stuff like that. It's helping the community and you educate them, right? So I'm reading the script and I'm like, hi, my name is Ruby, I'm a volunteer for the Vote No. And I totally go into like my JW stuff. And I almost had a mini heart attack because I spoke to two people.
Yeah.
And
That's
it was
funny.
amazing. It was amazing. And so that's when Gigi brought that up, it brought me back to that because even though I had the anxiety and I felt like I was phone witnessing again, but I'm doing it for politics, like I'm changing the skill set and I'm using it for what I actually believe in and what I'm actually passionate about. The fear left me and I was talking to people and I was clicking buttons and I was using the tablet and I was like, would you like more information on this? Or like, would you like to take the survey? And I felt like a real volunteer, like something that I actually wanted to do for something that I was passionate about. And that's what we have to do more of.
Hey, Ruby, can I say something to you, sweetie?
Yeah.
You were slowly taking off your green hat and getting ready to put a blue one on.
Yeah. Totally identified myself as a green. I said, "Am I a green hat?" And I almost texted you, and I was like, "Should I ask Jimmy?" But I didn't want to. I had
already told my wife because I went in. I said, "Baby, I just watched this great video about different hats," and I said, "I tell you what, your daughter, she's a yellow hat. Your other daughter's a green hat. My buddy Ruby, she's a green hat." And I said, "I got a blue hat." So I did mention you already.
Yeah, that's how like I am moving forward in this sphere of like activism or political stuff, if you want to call it. Like I am pushing forward and I'm using that same skill that my mother like beat into me, like grind into me on how to talk to people, how to get people excited about a subject, how to have a conversation. And I can do it on the phone. I don't want to go door to door. That's too much for me. I'll have like a meltdown.
Yeah.
But if I could do it on the phone, because I love to talk. You guys already see me here for hours. I love doing that. and I'm totally okay with it. And I spoke to 2 people out of the 20 something phone calls I made. I was leaving voicemail, and I was getting the hang of it. And as soon as somebody answered, I was like, hello, hey, no, my name is Ruby. I'm about to, listen, Tony, I do not know who I am anymore. Every day, every show, every person I talk to, I don't know who I am. But I am looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, this is me, though. This is me. And I'm finally seeing her in the mirror. And I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
We've
That's
lost
awesome.
ourselves. And right now we're in a position to where we have the biggest opportunity of all our lives is to find out who we truly are and what our purpose is. And when you know it, you know it. I'm just saying, it's like, I don't know why I do I've asked, why do I do the things that I do? Why?
I told you that, right, Tony? I said, I texted that guy about the flat earth. And after I said, oh, he's not going to email me. He's not going to give me the time of day. He sent me an email the next day and I almost died. I said, now I got to talk to this guy. Now I have to like get questions about this. Like, what? Jesse, hi, Jesse.
Hey guys.
I'm crazy. I'm sorry. I got a little excited.
Hi.
Hey, Ruby or Jimmy, are you guys going to be over here on the West Coast this Friday?
No.
California or Arizona?
No.
Hey, we're going to have a constitutional carne asada. We're Mexicans. And so you guys probably call it barbecues where you're from, huh? We call it carne asada.
Okay.
That's what we call it in Arizona.
Cool.
And in California, we call it carne asada. It's just a get together.
Okay.
And we're going to invite different Mexican American Republicans at our house, and we're going to have a barbecue, and we're going to have a Democrat piñata. I mean, a donkey. We're going to have a donkey piñata. We're going to stuff it with condoms and stuff like that. And and so, but what we're doing is my sister-in-law is running for re-election, Congress in the State House.
Okay.
And the out-of-state abortion people.
Mm-hmm.
They're spending billions of dollars to knock her out, or millions of dollars, better said, to knock her out. It's the most insignificant. We're in the most insignificant part of the country. We're in the middle of the desert where the Mexico-United States border, California, Baja California, Arizona, and Sonora meet. We're an insignificant little piece of the desert. And yet they're spending millions of dollars to take her out because she's a Mexican-American conservative woman.
Yeah.
And you should see the way they worship abortion. You know, most of us go through our lives not thinking about it. It's just men, not women, I know. But to them, it is everything. And so since she voted against it, the Arizona thing, I mean, she voted for it, they want to take her out, and you could feel the blood drip out.
Oh, yeah.
So they're spending millions of dollars on social media, on Facebook and everything, and they call her extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Extremist, like a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And she's embracing it with love because I love the children, because I love my country, I'm extreme, because I love my neighbor, because I love God, because I love America. And so it is what Jimmy said is so true. It's such a beautiful time. John F. Kennedy in his inauguration, he said, I don't think none of us here would trade places with another time and place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For this, we were born. You know, this is what we're being tested. Another thing is the election drawing near is so important because this is why it's so important to tell the Republicans. You can never surrender 1 inch. You have to fight in Hopeville. You got to fight in El Centro, in Winter Haven, in Island, all these little desert towns. The conservatives, even though California is a Democrat state, Arizona, for example, Yuma, we're surrounded by communists everywhere in California, Arizona, Tucson. Tucson is a strong commie location. But we have to put the commies on defense. Every kitchen table, every dinner table, we fight. We fight for every inch. It will put them on defense, and they're going to have to spend money for every kitchen table.
Yep.
They're all, what were they called? White hats? Or the ones that don't want to hear?
The black hats.
The black hats. Well, when we have dinner with them, we just keep poking.
Wait, hold on. The ones that don't want to hear, those would be the yellow ones. I'm sorry. Yellow.
We got to keep hammering them because the Democrats will spend hardcore money to defend every nook and cranny.
Yeah, because they don't want to lose that base.
Exactly. I just wanted to share that with you. I mean, the fight is here. Oh, and check this out. There's something about destiny and fate. Me and my wife and my sister-in-law were really involved in our Republican Party and our conservatives here in our little neck of the woods. Oh, neck of the desert. I'm sorry. And something interesting. So Catholics, Baptists, Pentecostals, Muslim, everybody has called to support her. People of all faiths and even atheists and agnostic, because of the beating she receives. Not one, can you believe this? Not one Jehovah's Witness. She's not disfellowshipped. They never disfellowshipped us. Not one Jehovah's Witness in our town, knowing that the attack, it's not on tax revenue, it's not on cheating, it's not on fracking, it's not on any subject under the sun. The battle right now for election is on abortion in Arizona. That's what the battle is. You think that the Jehovah's Witnesses would be the first to call and say, wow, Michelle, you're putting up a good fight.
Right.
You think that your Jehovah's Witness will say, wow, at least you're fighting for life. We know we don't get involved in electoral politics, but at least you're taking a beating for the lives of children. Not one Jehovah's Witness. All people of all faiths have called to support, but not one Jehovah's Witness in our town. Can you believe that? So it goes to the point that me and Gilbert always said, the Jehovah is pro-choice. Jehovah is pro-choice. He is a leftist fundamentalist. He is a leftist progressive. He is not a right-winger. He's not a conservative. He's not a Christian. It's a progressive organization.
Ruby, I saw a question somebody had for me in the chat. What was that?
Question for Jimmy. Do Pimis wear yellow or red hats?
Wow, good
All
question.
right. So physically and mentally, and we're talking about a full-blown Jehovah's Witness. Okay. If we want to consider, now I'll show you the way I think about things. I'm just going to talk it out, and y'all can see like how I operate. So if I believe that the Watchtower organization is just a propaganda arm of the deep state, that would list the governing body and the Watchtower as black hats. Okay. The red hats will do whatever the black hats want them to do. So I would put full in Jehovah's Witnesses because they're willing to shun you. They're willing to destroy your life in that way. They're willing to not take blood so someone ends up dying. That organization is known for child trafficking and child abuse. So I would say that they're doing the bidding of the black hats. So I'm going to say Pimis are red hats.
But I mean, a red hat knows what they're doing. They know that they're taking the money over a person or like a life. You know what I'm saying? What about the indoctrination factor that physically and mentally, and they don't really know?
As soon as I said that and you brought that up, that got me thinking too.
They know they're going to get your house. The birds are going to eat your eyeballs. They're Ruby. They are coveting your home. They're coveting 10 acres of Paradise Earth. That's their pay. I mean, call it, getting paid in US dollars. They're thinking of a different currency, but at the end of the day, that Jehovah's Witness is banking on a payday. You're dead. They own your house.
See, they're not even thinking about them being indoctrinated. They haven't gotten that far. They're still doing the bidding of Watchtower. And I don't think they get to put on a yellow hat until they start questioning some things.
Okay. I think they would be considered yellow when they are physically out, mentally in, because they just don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know about it. Just keep the peace, be passive, and just, continue association so that they don't get shunned.
True.
That would be like my interpretation.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we were in, we didn't know we were indoctrinated.
Right.
We just knew that we did whatever the governing body said. And doesn't that fall in the line of MK Ultra?
A little bit. A little bit, because we didn't know we were being hypnotized. We didn't know we were doing things that we really didn't want to do because they're controlling you through the hypnosis.
And what
But-
mechanism does the deep state use to control people? They use MK Ultra. They use brainwashing. They use propaganda.
Okay, so what color hat does the governing body wear?
I'm black hat all the way.
Yeah. Okay, hold up, because you would have to believe that they are fully awake to the evil that they're doing.
Yes.
I don't really think that they are fully awake. I think that they
Oh,
actually
they know.
believe.
I believe they know exactly what the hell they're doing.
They know what they're doing, but what I'm saying is like they use that religious belief to like create a theocracy, to create like that authoritarian worldview, because they're
Yeah.
using the religion to control people. But you have to believe in it, don't you? Like, don't you have to actually really believe in what you're saying to coerce
I don't
other
have to
people?
believe in something to push it.
Really? You think so? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, let me think of an example here. This lawnmower right here, this is the greatest lawnmower that
Mhm.
is out there. It works great. It mows straight lines. It does this. It does that. It's the most awesome mower. I hope
Mhm.
everybody goes out and gets this Husqvarna.
But that's
I
because
just-
you've used it though. You use it,
Yeah.
you've bought it, you
No,
own
no, no,
it.
no, no. That's not the point. That's not the point. I just pushed something
Mhm.
that I don't believe in because that mower's broke down and it sucks.
Okay.
So it's very easy to push something you don't believe in.
Okay. So what kind of a hat would you consider consider Tony, my cousin? She says, what color hat would I be considered?
I think Tony is a very, very strong green. I think she's right in the middle of green right now, if I had to pick, because
Mhm.
she's willing to have an open mind. She's willing to have that discussion. And yeah, she's open to ideas. So I'd put her in a green hat.
Okay. What about myself? I know you said green, but like, do you have like
Yeah,
any
you got the blue one right on the table, and just few more steps, and you're going to be putting that blue one on.
But what's the difference between blue and white again? If you could remind me, because I thought blue was like veteran status.
All right, yeah. So the white, I know y'all are going to probably scoff at this, but the white is the military alliance around the world, the global military alliance. Those are the white hats.
Okay. Because I would consider the white hat, if it wasn't military status, I would consider white hats the people who are actively going against the black hats, like against the evil, like you're trying to
Yes,
tear them
yes,
down.
yes, yeah. And it's not just the military. It's just not the military. There's going to be civilian. There's politicians. There's some politicians that are white hats.
Mhm.
So it can be military, political. Yeah, it'd be military and political white hats. Those are the white hats.
I think Wild Wall wears a cowboy hat.
And seeing what has happened, and this is why I tell folks this is a military civilian alliance, because throughout history, we've never really had blue hats and white hats working together to try to help the other folks. It's always been
Right.
like the military stepping in and doing a coup, or the people step in and overthrow the military. This is the first time in human history that there's been a military civilian alliance, and it's not just the United States, it's worldwide.
Okay, Jimmy. So 2 quick questions, and I
Yeah,
know that
okay.
you would have to watch the video to get this, just like everybody in the chat. But since I've seen this and I know Jimmy knows about it, that man in that video, he says that they called on Trump in 2014 to step up and run for president, and that he would have to win it legitimately so that he can have, he's a real president, real
Mhm.
time president, not these fake established installed ones.
Correct.
But then later in the video, he goes on to say that every election is rigged. That was kind of a little discrepancy for me. So I just wanted to ask you your opinion about that.
If you look at it the way Tony was saying earlier, that she wants to have it rigged the other way,
Right.
okay?
Mhm.
I'm going to share with you guys what I believe to have happened. It's very difficult to have proof for that right now. So, I mean, documented evidence. But from what I've looked at, this is what happened. In 2014, yes, the military did go and ask Trump to run for president. The military was actually going to go in 2012 and take Obama out. There was going to be a coup d'etat. But they's like, no, we can't do that because that will just fracture this nation beyond belief. So they had to go about it a different route. So when the military asked, remember, you got to keep optics up. This is all a drip thing, and you can't shock the people. You can't shock the white hats and the yellow and the greens, and you can't do that. So if you look at what the media was doing up until the election of 2016, you didn't see the riots, you didn't see all the craziness we've seen in 2020 and 24. It didn't happen because they felt like they were in control. These globalist mafia thought they were in control, and they pushed that out to the media and the interviews. Oh, Trump's never going to win this. And you got all these Hollywood celebrities coming out saying, oh yeah, this is going to be horrible. Hillary's got. So they pushed their propaganda machine in trying to convince everybody Hillary was going to win. Right. All right. They had their rigging system in place. They knew what the outcome was going to be. But what folks don't know, and I wish I had documented proof to give you guys, but from what I understand, the United States Navy stopped the rigging of the 2016 election through their computers and all the stuff that they do. They stopped the rigging. And it was actually a legitimate election. That's why they freaked out when Trump got elected. And then all of a sudden, the backlash started. The attacks started. Everything started happening. Steele dossier, Russia, the P-tape, everything. They threw everything out because they lost control.
Okay, so if you believe that, if you don't mind me going a little bit further,
That's
then
fine.
if you believe that with the unrigging sense of your line of thinking, then why did they not do that in 2020 when there was real fraud happening?
Okay, so I'm going to just share with you guys what I believe. 2020, the military let 2020 happen because they were in the middle of a military operation because the military took over in 2017. I'll go back to that later. But the military set it up because they wanted the deep state to feel comfortable and they could catch them at everything that they do. So the theory behind that is never interfere with an enemy when they're destroying themselves. And you got to think if Trump would have been allowed to be the winner of 2020, then would we have seen any of this corruption that we've seen in the last 4 years? We wouldn't have seen it.
Right, because they incriminated themselves by this whole entire time that we have all that data, we have all the proof, we have all the
exactly.
Okay,
That's why Ricardo Bossi, or well, not when we say we have it all.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from and where you're going, but this is where your ideology or belief system kind of loses me, is because then now you start reaching into this is a body double, or that's a mask, or those are not the real people, because the real people, and that's the conspiracy theory. It's like, oh, these people have already been arrested, they have already been executed, they have these lists, they have, and that's, I think that's kind of why they get the bad rep, is because I feel like they just reach too far. They stretch too far when it starts going into things like you said, like you can't really prove it, you can't really have documentation on it, but they try to give you that cope. It's a cope, and that everything's okay because they don't want chaos, because that's what the black hats want. If there's chaos, they win. I totally get that. But then when something is right in front of you, like we saw assassination attempts, we see Trump, they're really trying to knock his head off, is how could you not believe that that's the real person?
Because, in that incident, I don't know about that one. I've had my theories about that one, but when it comes to these clones, is that what you're asking about, these clones and stuff? If we see it right in front of our face?
Well, yeah, because if you think that this person has already been arrested and executed, and there's just an
Mhm.
actor in play.
Yeah.
They're just the character of that figure that they still want in the public eye, so that there's no chaos.
Okay.
Then, like, so why are they? Why keep up the act? Why keep up the character? Why keep up the movie if the movie has already ended and we just have to wait until it plays out?
Yes, because everything is being dripped out to the public. There's so much more coming out, and they've used these people in these positions. It's kind of like you've got to take out the head of the snake and then eventually go and get the rest of the body, so to speak.
Mhm.
So in the public's eye, they might think that Hillary Clinton is still alive in the public's eye.
Mhm.
All right. So the people, the rats that were the smaller level folks, they will believe that she's alive too. And they'll go out and commit their crimes and do everything and get caught. So I think a lot of them are being used as bait to
Mhm.
bring out more of the corruption.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave my questioning there because I could go forever, but I do want to bring up, somebody emailed me and they told me that I should do another podcast with you because she said that when she talks to her neighbors, they say if Trump wins, Democrats would accuse him of criminal issues to disqualify him from
Mhm.
taking presidential office.
Mhm.
Thereafter, they will create the setting for fighting, causing a civil war, because
Mhm.
ultimately war is their game.
Mhm.
Obviously, if Kamala Harris gets in, then the Dems will in time push for World War III. Yet either way, they are strategizing for war. Can you please ask Jimmy to do another podcast along with you? Many people need reassurance about how the military, which Jimmy speaks of, will maintain order from the deep state taking over as everything unfolds.
Yeah, let me just speak to that just a little bit. Because because this is all scripted and we are watching a movie. If you look at what Trump just did yesterday, he went to a grocery store and bought
Yeah.
a big bag of popcorn. That was a calm. For folks that don't know what we talk about, that was a calm, because we're getting ready to see something with this movie. Now,
Mhm.
when producers are producing movies or they're producing sitcoms, they always have an alternative ending.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the white hats have an alternative ending here with this election.
Mhm.
The election is either going to go through and they're going to use that, or they're going to be like, nah, let's not use the election. Let's use something else.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm telling folks this election, yes, it's important that we get out and vote, because the American people have got to gel together and show what kind of country we really want. I agree with the voting thing, whichever way, whatever.
Mhm.
We got to do our part, but it's going to work out either way, because that's why the Dems have created a pre-election strategy. And the one that this lady spoke to of in the email, that is the Dems post-election strategy. They're setting that up because they don't know which script the military is going to use with the election.
Okay. So, okay, side note. Let's just say all of this is just speculation, right? We don't know. We're just brainstorming. This is all for jokes and laughs, for giggles.
Yes.
Don't you think that if somebody actually believes this, like die hard believes this,
Mhm.
that if it doesn't go the way that they think it will go, that it will ruin their sense of reality either way, because everything is not going to go the way it is. Everything is going to continue the way it was, and nothing gets done. Nobody gets prosecuted. Nobody goes to jail. Or if you don't physically see Hillary in handcuffs, like I thought I was in 2016, when Trump said, well, you'll be in jail. You know what I mean? Like, he was creating the hype. I was right there with it, like, yeah, let's do it. And then nothing happened. So do you think that can like ruin somebody if they believe too hard in that?
This is what I'll say, right? This is how I personally feel.
Mhm.
If the white hats are not in control and Jesus isn't in control, if you want to look at that, because a lot of when you speak to your Christians, they think that Jesus is going to be the one. Yes, this is a time to believe in Jesus. I do agree with that. if you think that the way they're doing it is going to fail, the way I look at it is if they don't succeed, if we don't succeed, we are all screwed.
And you know what? Let me jump in because Jimmy brought in the Jesus card, so I got to come in and I
Of course, go ahead.
I don't disagree with Jimmy. It's just I look at it from a different perspective, and you guys, this is just common sense. It's we've seen this with our lives. Do you remember when Solomon said that because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the hearts of the sons of men are fully set in them to do evil? Like for example, when the kids can go to Walgreens and just steal with impunity because it's less than $900, they just go to the 7-Eleven, Walgreens, they steal because they're not going to be in trouble. Well, this is what you're seeing right now, and kind of like at the very end when Jimmy was saying that he was talking about they got to get it done. These people are so evil; they're actually fulfilling the words of King Solomon, that they're not getting arrested, nothing's happening to them, and this month is it, man. They're going to pull out all the stops, and so they ask in the chat. Ruby asked Jimmy if Ukraine is going to go deep into Russia before the election. That and way more. The Democrats know that Judgment Day is coming. They know they're breaking the law. They know they're cheating. They know they're laundering money.
They know they're caught.
They're going for broke. So this is it. This is the Super Bowl. This is the Hail Mary. This is, I never predict anything, but I do believe that the Democrats are going to throw the ball to the end zone.
Gigi, before I forget, I want to comment on the word you said, Super Bowl. There is a Q post that says, this will make the Super Bowl look like a puppy party or something like that for what's getting ready to happen. So this is actually going to be bigger than the Super Bowl. So yeah, that was actually a Q post.
And
that's interesting. He said that
this month, and
it's going to be crazy.
To go Watchtower, everything always happens in October. That's a
yeah.
Watchtower joke.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy month, folks. But that's why I try to give hope to folks. I'm not trying to argue or debate them or try to change their mind. I want to give hope to folks.
Yeah. Okay, but you did say if it doesn't happen the way we think it was.
We're all screwed.
Okay, so if you believe that, then what comes after this? What if we are screwed? Let's just say hypothetically, we're screwed
in the United States. Let's see, you would get censored, maybe jailed for having this conversation on YouTube.
In America?
In America, yeah. These people, they want to bring in socialism. They want to bring in communism to the United States. That's why Trump keeps calling her comrade.
Right.
Because this is why the IRS has guns. This is why the Department of Cats and Dogs, your dog pound has guns.
You don't want to live in the country that these deep state globalists have planned for us.
No.
Yeah, but this is America, though.
It don't matter. They don't care. They don't like America. That's the thing. They don't like America.
Okay, but like I told Tony earlier, we have a constitution that is literally like the best in the world.
Right.
So how can that even
happen? So this is how that would happen. When it goes back to the 16-year plan. Have you finished watching that yet?
I have not.
I saw it.
So let me answer something that's in that 16-year plan. Their plan started in 2008 with Barack Obama of what they wanted to do. It was supposed to be ended with Hillary. Hillary was supposed to finish in the last 8 years. If you look at the narrative that they were building in 2013 and 2014, who was the United States getting ready to go to war with? North Korea. There was all that talk in the media. North Korea. And who would North Korea align with? Russia. Okay. So what they were going to do is they were going to create their little controlled World War III, bring America into it. America loses the war. And when a country loses a war, they lose their constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would take over and put in their little socialist communist thing that they want to do. Because they failed in that, and because the White Hats, the military alliance, stopped it, they are
Mhm.
trying everything they can politically to destroy our Constitution.
So will they do that with World War III? Is that why they want World War III?
That's why they want World War III, because they want America to get involved and lose the war, and we lose our Constitution. So it doesn't matter if we have free speech or the right to bear arms, because it'll be gone.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Jimmy, when we were kids, you're close to my age. I'm probably 5 or 6 years older than you, but we had mutually assured destruction. We had détente, Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy. We had cooler heads.
Yes.
Mhm.
We don't have détente. We don't have mutually assured destruction going on right now with our leaders. They're hell-bent on World War III. When we were kids, when we were little kids, we understood it was lights out, game over, end of civilization, and 1,000 years of total darkness, to quote the great Ronald Reagan. You have World War III. There is no Constitution. There is no Facebook. There's no electricity. There's no tomorrow. There's no joy in Mudville. We have World War III. It's lights out, Ruby. It's lights out. Everything we're talking about doesn't matter a hill of beans.
Okay, wait, okay. One point. Maybe this is just me coping, but this is what I tell my husband all the time. I said, even if a war does pop off, it will never happen in America. Like all these other wars have always happened in Europe or like the other side of the world, but it would never happen here. Maybe
a
I'm just
shooting
coping.
war. A shooting war. But we're talking about long-range ballistic missiles,
Yeah.
intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Okay.
It means 12 minutes, lights out.
But they
Yep.
wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that, right?
Ruby, do you think they would have? Do you think they would have poisoned the Earth with a vaccine?
But you
setting
see,
up
that's
to shoot
different.
into
That's
Russia.
easy to.
Ruby,
Yeah,
they're talking about shooting into Russia. These people are deranged.
that's
want-
that's why I don't support that whole Ukraine.
But did you notice I prefaced it by saying my generation had mutually assured destruction? We had détente. We had men who had brains. The leadership right now have no brain cells. They don't understand that if they shoot into the Russia is obliged to shoot back. This is what Nixon told us. This is what Kennedy told us. Mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Our leaders do not comprehend that. They think a man is a woman. They cannot comprehend mutually assured destruction. They have no brain cells left.
Ruby, can I
Okay,
ask you a
okay.
question? What group of people fights for freedom the most? I mean, that's kind of a broad question.
Mhm.
Because people do another kind. Let's just say these people hate the American public. They
Right,
hate,
the average American.
yeah, they hate an awakened American public,
Mhm.
and they will do whatever it takes to destroy it.
Mhm. Okay, hold on. When Jesse said that these leaders, they believe that men can be women and vice versa, right? I think that's just propaganda. In my opinion, I think that's the psyop, is to make the world believe as if we are weak and keep them guessing, because America is the empire. So I think that's just a little psyop for the rest of the world to make us look like we're weak. But I don't think that they are like that.
Have you seen
Yeah,
Joe
it's a
and
side.
Justin Trudeau? I wouldn't put it past them. Have you seen Lucinda Avers from New Zealand? These are not the smartest people in the world. So I wouldn't even give them the benefit of the doubt. Have you seen Gavin Newsom, Justin Trudeau? And you're
But
telling me
that's
that
how
they
they
don't believe
want the rest of the world to think. Exactly what you're saying. I believe that that's how they want other world leaders to believe, so that they don't try nothing.
What you're saying is rope-a-dope. They're playing rope-a-dope. True. Okay, I would concede that you have like 60-40, like we were talking about, yellow hat, black hat. But their followers are not. Their followers believe it hook, line, and sinker.
And those are like those, they consider themselves revolutionaries, or these people who are gonna
The useful idiots.
Exactly. I agree with that. And that's what's dangerous about them, because they actually believe it. And that sort of group of people will cause the same riots and burning of our cities and everything that happened in 2020. That's
And
why
those,
that should have been condemned from the beginning. And
yes,
it never was. They allowed for that to happen. And that was literally like Joker anarchy in real life. Like I saw that in a movie already. And it's
mhm,
happening again now in Philadelphia. Like I saw these videos.
mhm.
They were doing donuts. They were in the street doing fireworks. It's like it's happening all over again.
Hey,
That's
Ruby.
not American.
Yeah, the useful idiots are everywhere. When Gilbert started his apostasy work, we were leaving at the same time, but he left Phoenix and I stayed in Yuma. And so I would write a lot of his stuff, the GG for GB, and we would collaborate on everything at night and the campaign. And no elder, no ministerial servant, no Jehovah's Witness attacked us except the children of the Jehovah's Witnesses, the ones that smoked weed or were in prison, the ones who led a life of evil, but they were still mentally in. And they attacked Gilbert physically, and threatened him. And I told Gilbert, it's interesting that the Jehovah's Witnesses will never threaten your life, but the ones who never did nothing, they never built kingdom halls, they never contributed, they never went on service, they smoked weed and they went to prison, those are the ones that want you dead. They're the useful idiots. They're the ones who do the dangerous work.
Red hats.
Exactly. That's would be considered a red hat. Anything for money. And
Yes.
that's why that man said in the video, if you are not willing to lay down your life, then you are up for sale.
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
that. I do
Yes.
believe that.
Look,
And I say it all the time. Like if I didn't have kids, I probably would go full 100% like out with my ideas. I would go out there, but I can't, because we have a family, you have children, and that's what's hard for the average American. They have jobs, they have to go to school,
Yes.
life gets in the way. But if we go back to 1776, I'm right there.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
Let me go to 1776.
Mhm.
In the summertime before July 4th, Nathan Hale was debating, and I was studying this morning in my American history book. A real beautiful story about a tale of two cousins, Nathan Hale, and I can't remember his cousin Hale. I can't remember his name, but his cousin. They were about 21, 22 years old.
Mhm.
George Washington just got his ass kicked in New York City, and he
Mhm.
was crossing the river, and he needed a spy, and nobody would volunteer except this one young lawyer from Yale named Nathan Hale, and he was a lieutenant in the Continental Congress, but he volunteered to go to New York City, and he was going to so he could know the positions of the British troops.
Mhm.
And the history books don't know exactly how he was ratted out, how he was captured, or if his cousin ratted him out who lived there.
Mhm.
But anyways, when he went to the gallows, he was very calm. 21 years old. He's considered a father of the American of our. He's considered one of our founding fathers, even though he didn't get to father children. But he said, and there's a question about the quote, but it boils down to he regrets that he has but one life to give for his country.
Mhm.
So the men and women of yesterday, of 1776, were taught valor. For
Mhm.
example, we watch the nightly news and then we see Kate Jenner, Bruce Jenner, and he
Mhm.
has transgender, and we say, oh, that guy is a valiant man. That
Hopefully.
is a valiant woman because he got a sex change. So we have our priorities mixed up. Our
Mhm.
founding fathers, they had valor as somebody who would give his life for his brother, for his country. Today, we think that valor is having a sex change.
Mm-mm.
See how far we've evolved? How
Yep.
far down the line we've
And that's
evolved?
all been done by design.
Right. I don't like you see that to me is fake. That's the psyop. That's what they want to impose on society and say this is right and this is wrong. They want to put new morality like rules in society when we all know that's not going to fly. That's not going to work. When you talk
Right.
to regular people, it's not going to work. And people who want to impose that, in my opinion, it's just mental illness because you think that everybody has to agree with you. You think that everybody has to validate you. And that's not how the world works. So that's the rampant mental illness that I see in society. And that's what I disagree with. But then again, I think that's the government doing it to us. They're doing it to us. They hate us. I do
Yeah.
believe that. They hate the nuclear family. They hate children. They hate mothers like me that are stay-at-home mothers, cook and clean and
Yep.
homeschool your children and raise your children because the government doesn't have them. in their pocket anymore. They can't
Correct.
indoctrinate my children, but they can indoctrinate all these other children who probably don't have the privilege to be homeschooling, or have the parents who are willing or can afford these things.
Yep.
But that's why government is supposed to be giving you scholarships. That's what they should be giving you money for, so that you could be home and raise your kids, teach your kids. Go ahead, Jesse.
Ruby, you just espoused liberalism. No, that's not the role of government. The role of government is to get out of our way. They defend the borders. They defend our freedom, the Constitution. The Constitution is limited. It limits what the government can do. You know what government is force. It's all it is. It's force. There was this miracle that happened with our Constitution. I think I've explained it to you. There was a group of some white guys down south. And they said, hey, can you guys sign this Constitution? And George Washington gave it to them. They went back to their states. And they go, hell no. Unless we put these 10 amendments. We call it the Bill of Rights. It was a miracle. Other countries have a constitution because it's a makeup of laws. But we went there further. We put the Bill of Rights to limit the force that government can put on us. So just like they can't force us, it's not their job to give us money for scholarships. And I'm sorry, Ruby, I threw that at you, but that's a little bit of a liberalism right there.
No, my husband tells me that all the time. But okay, I say that in terms of keeping the system the way it is. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally an abolitionist. I want to dismantle everything. But if it is the way it is, right? They take our taxes. We have to follow these certain rules, right? Or else you go to jail. Then why not use that money and do it local, like what DeSantis did in Florida? He redistributed that money that would be going to the DOE and is giving it to the parents directly. I could buy curriculums. I can do this. And that's literally how I'm able to homeschool. It's because of those things. Okay, go ahead, Jimmy.
The reason why you don't see that is because this criminal syndicate mafia doesn't care about that stuff.
Exactly. Right.
So that money is going to go to what they want it to go. What furthers their agenda, ever how that may be. That's why there's so much money going to Ukraine right now. That's why so much money was stolen from us through our taxes, which is unconstitutional. That's why NASA has gotten so much money. Think about all that. Think about all that money that's gone to these organizations and how much that could help out our veterans, our folks that are living below the poverty line. That's what they want.
But Jimmy, how can they violate the Constitution if it's supposed to be the law of the land? How do you bend it to your will if you're that powerful and not get any consequences?
You could just buy off the politicians to vote the way you want them to vote.
Damn.
And Ruby, all politics is local. It starts down where you're at. It starts where Jimmy's at, where King Tony's at, where Lucy's at. It's us. We debate these little issues. If you think about spending money, well, that could be handled in your jurisdiction, in your little neck of the woods. You guys fight that. But you don't come to Arizona and tell us how to do it. You don't go to California and tell us. You do it in your little hometown. If we believe the Amish have the right to have their own schools, then Florida has the right to spend the money the way they do. But every state, every jurisdiction does that. That's the beauty of the United States. A state is a nation state, a republic. But we're better because we're a group of different states, individual states, 50 of them. And every state has the power to do that.
And what they'll also do is they will use the three-letter agencies to try to, they'll try to game the system. So, for example, the ATF could come out and say, all right, well, we want to ban bump stocks on the weapons. And we're going to put this mandate in place. Okay. There's not really a vote on that. That doesn't go to the people. They just say they're going to do it and everybody needs to follow it. Okay. Except that's where this new Supreme Court law, the deference thing was, anybody know the name? Chevron deference, which eliminated the ability of these three-letter agencies to make mandates to force Americans to follow. That's why that Supreme Court thing was so big. That right there was a white hat play in the game. because it shut down these 3-letter agencies for making laws to inhibit us that go against our constitutional rights. And see, another
Right.
and what they were doing before that is they'll like pass the thing. We're going to do a gun buyback program. And we want everybody in North Carolina to come do this gun buyback program. And then people push back at it and they take it to court, and it doesn't hit the court for about 8-9 months. But while they were doing it, how many guns did they seize? And then when it goes to court and it comes out that it's unconstitutional, then they just stop doing it. But look at all the people they fooled into giving up their guns in those 8 to 9 months.
Exactly.
And then when they get beat on the law like that, they'll try some other way to skirt the Constitution.
Right.
So that's why Chevron deference was so important.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that because I've never heard of that. But Jesse, to your point about the states, I totally agree with you when you say, don't tell us what to do in our state. Do it in your state and handle your state. But isn't that what happened when Abraham Lincoln was president and the states wanted more power and Abraham Lincoln said no, and there was a whole civil war about that? I mean, I know it was for a bad cause. I'm not condoning the reason why, which was slavery. I totally understand that. But that was like the underlying point, that they wanted more power in the states, as if we want slaves down here, we should be able to have it, and not the federal government telling us what to do.
Yes, you're right. And you know what? Love will conquer all. Because Abraham Lincoln, he was the great rail splitter, and he split our country. And because of love, a lot of people say that slavery was the original sin. No, it wasn't. Slavery has been going on since the beginning of the creation. It's been going on. It happened in the United States, like it happened in Britain and Brazil. It happened everywhere. But men of Abraham Lincoln's caliber could not live there. Like John Brown, there was a group of Americans who could not. And that's why he was called the Great Rail Splitter. It had to come down to blood. But listen, at the end of the American Civil War, Lincoln said, there will be no hangings. There will be no hangings. Jesus paid with his life. Abraham Lincoln did too. People forget. He said there will be no hangings, he told Grant. And then a couple of days later, he gets shot. There was a complete and total amnesty of every American Civil War person. And that's what has to happen in our country. Our brothers and sisters who are cheating on the election, they have to have a come to Jesus moment. They need to repent and start confessing. Because in the end, everybody who loves, guess what happens to the people that love throughout history? The people who love their country. They get shot or they get killed.
Give me 1 second. I have to unlock the door. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. Unlock the door. That sounds like a country song. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Now, she made the great point about the American Revolutionary War. Lincoln was fighting against the Southern rights of the states to have a decision on slavery. So
yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit when Ruby gets back, because I want to just share what I have learned about that whole situation. I'll wait till she gets back about that.
Something interesting I'll just throw at you. General Lee, for example. General Lee, even though he was the commander of such great forces of the Confederacy, he lived his life in relatively immunity in the United States afterwards.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And now Lincoln said he didn't care if they all left, but some of the great leaders of the Confederacy lived the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Because maybe they weren't fighting for slavery. Maybe they were fighting for states' rights. And so they thought they had a moral reason for what they were doing. They didn't see it as a slave. They didn't see it as the question of slavery. I think.
Yeah, that's the point that I want to bring up when Ruby gets back, because a lot of people feel that the Civil War was just about slavery.
And there was so much going on.
And it wasn't. It was just part of the conversation. And I can back that up because when she gets back, I'll explain what I think about that.
Because the Kansas Pact, when Kansas was going to be and there was other states, the Missouri Compact, when states were going to be allowed into the Union, they had to make a decision whether they were going to be a slave state or non-slave state.
Right.
Which goes to the question, not of slavery so much, but as states' rights.
Right.
So the fight was about whether the state was going to have to accept the northern dictates, or were they going to be able to choose what they wanted to? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it was part of the discussion, but it wasn't slavery. That is, it was part of the discussion, but it wasn't the main reason for the Civil War.
Exactly.
And I can back that up with pattern and historical evidence and what we're living in today to back that up and why I say that.
And you know what? When you get your American history books that were written in the 40s, 50s, or 30s, and you could buy them at any bookstore or old bookstores and stuff, and you start reading about it, you understand that. Because when we were school, they put it for us very black and white. It was about slavery, Emancipation Proclamation. And the Emancipation Proclamation wasn't a constitutional amendment, you know. And so it wasn't that. It was the question of slavery wasn't the black and white issue that a lot of us thought it was when we were kids.
Right. Right. This has been a fun conversation tonight. I've enjoyed it.
Now, King Tony and Lucy, are they
Yeah, they've been quiet. What are y'all thinking, ladies?
are they former Jehovah's Witnesses?
Oh.
King Tony, were you a Jehovah's Witness?
Yes.
Okay. I'm from Arizona. What state are you from?
I'm from New York.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. I'm a relative of Ruby's.
From the city or from the
I'm from New York City, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I basically was raised in the truth. And last 2
cult.
years.
The cult.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Oh Lord.
It's a habit. It's part of that brainwashing.
Oh my gosh.
You were raised in the
I
truth, huh?
haven't said that in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
God.
See how that brain works?
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Is she a white hat?
Oh my gosh. But yeah, last 2 years officially like out.
Sweet. Awesome.
You made my wife laugh.
Oh man, that's crazy. I can't believe that came out my mouth.
The truth. That's what my wife calls it, the truth.
I know. Hold on, guys. I know Jimmy had to go to sleep early tonight. So Jimmy, go ahead. If you, I'm back now. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I want to touch on a little bit of the Civil War thing, and the whole slavery issue and why it actually started. If you look at the system we live in, it's the central bank, Federal Reserve system that has been controlling us and basically keeping us under their thumb with what they've done. Now, there was a first central bank in the United States in the 1790s, which only had a 10-year charter, and that was eventually done away with. Then there was a second one that came about that they tried to impose. And when I say they, I'm talking about these deep state controllers, because this has been a very long war. They wanted to institute a second central bank system in the United States. Andrew Jackson defeated that in the late 20s, early 30s of 1800. They never stopped wanting to put it back in. So during Lincoln's time, they were trying to put a central bank system here in the United States. And they used slavery as part of their propaganda to divide the United States. And so when Lincoln came and said we were going to do greenbacks, yeah, that pissed them off. That caused issues, not only here in the United States, but also in Britain, where that was the central driving factor of putting a central bank in the United States.
Okay.
So when it comes to the Civil War, it had more to do with the money and the financial system that they wanted to impose on us, but they used certain tactics to try to divide the United States. They brought up a subject, and slavery was that subject that they used.
Okay,
So,
but that was a good reason to go to war, though, because they did not want that over them.
Well, correct.
Want,
Yeah, I get that. But like Jesse was saying, some of the states, you know, that was a state decision. I'm glad slavery ended, but it switched. Slavery didn't end. They just switched the technique. So when the central bank came back in 1913, we became debt slaves to that system. So we are
Right.
all, that's why I say we have all been living in their slavery. Some of us just didn't know it.
Right, but they demonize that in history books. We grew up thinking that the Confederates were evil and traitorous and that they were fighting over slavery. Meanwhile, if you do your research and you really dig deep into that, it's quite different, like what you've just explained.
It's a division It's a division tactic they've used.
But not necessarily, Ruby. Listen, in Yuma, there was the Robert E. Lee Hotel down my
Mhm.
street, all the way down. Robert E. Lee Hotel in Yuma, and he was loved all over the. And in the 1960s, I remember the songs. Virgil Kane is my name, and I drove on the Danville train the night they drove Old Dixie down. There's a lot of country songs that talk about Dixie. So the Confederacy wasn't always, there was an element that was not slave. There was an element of Dixie that was the beautiful land of the South. There was a lot of it. It wasn't just a slave state. There was really two cultures going on in the 1860s, 1850s. And Jimmy brought up the economic factor that a lot of us don't even go there. Jimmy, speaking of that, do you know what our first greenback was?
Do not.
Tobacco.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. That's probably why it's called a greenback.
I don't know if that, but it was a currency way back in the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tobacco was huge.
And how would inflation rise when we grew too much tobacco? And you see how inflation could come across? So even something so simple like an herb that you're using as money, when the supply of it is too great, it creates inflation.
Mm-hmm. And one thing about the Civil War that people need to look into, it just wasn't a war between the North and the South. France was involved, Britain was involved, Russia was involved. There was a lot of factors in the Civil War. And just remember, what does the deep state like to use to exert their control and power over people and to gain and get that power? War.
Mm-hmm. If we were in the Civil War, Ruby, where you live right now, you would be fighting with your friend Tony, because Florida was part. So if you go to
Right.
Ancestry.com and put down Gonzalez, Rome, you'll notice that all the Spanish surnames fought in the Confederacy
Mm-hmm.
because of Florida.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah,
I want to input something because it's been stated a couple of times, and I just want to do a quick fact check. If Ruby and I were living back in the Civil War times, we would not be allowed to carry a gun. We wouldn't be allowed to own property. There would be so many things that we couldn't do. We definitely couldn't be on this podcast together stating our opinions. So I just want to put that out there.
You know, that's
Women didn't have rights. Women didn't have rights back then.
That was a beautiful point. Lucy. I agree, and I honor your. There's always been strong women throughout the course of history. Look at one of our founding fathers was a woman, Betsy Ross, Calamity Jane. I mean, the American history is littered with great, strong women. She is right. You are right. It wasn't encoded in law, but there was women throughout history who wouldn't allow a man to tell them what to do. It wasn't enshrined in law. I agree 100% with Lucy, but there's been strong women throughout all the American experience.
Lucy, I know that the women had to fight for the right to vote. I get that. The whole gun right thing, I've never heard anybody say that women did not have the right to carry guns back then. Was there a law or something that was passed that gave women?
We wouldn't have had money. We wouldn't have been able to buy one. Most of the people who lived in the South supplied their own stuff. So I guess it just depends on where you lived, right?
Oh, so it wasn't the fact that they didn't have the right to carry arms.
No.
They just didn't have the money to do it.
Yeah, they just wouldn't have been in. Yeah, it just
True.
wouldn't have been in.
So the women that lived there and did the extraordinary things, like in the Underground Railroad. What's her name?
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman. These were exceptional women. These were women of incredible valor. Who are on forever. The woman in our dollars, Susan B. Anthony. These were all women that were living in America in the American pageant, the American theater, when the laws were not favorable towards women, like Lucy says. Yes, I agree. So these women that did stand out in American history were of exceptional caliber.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. But looking back at those kind of like times in America, when you could only vote if you owned property, you could only vote if you were a man, you could only vote if you were a white man of property. Like it goes even deeper to categorizing who can vote and things like that. I appreciate the progress. Like, Jesse said, Jimmy, I appreciate that progress. But when I really dig deep into my own personal viewpoints, I kind of agree with it. I don't think women should vote. And I think that people who do own land and property should be the ones voting, like mandatory. If you have a stake in this country, if you have investments in this country, if you own property, you should be the ones voting. A lot of people take that for granted. But it like in terms of just like how society has fallen so far, like if we were a strong like Christian society with fathers and mothers, and like it was really like the good patriarchy that we're supposed to have, like the nuclear family, then I wouldn't mind women voting and things like that. But the way I see this country, the way it has just fallen, in my opinion, I wouldn't want women to vote. I wouldn't want, because the majority of women in this country are not exceptional women, like Jesse just said. Those women back then, they were real women, like you said, exceptional women.
Ruby,
and I don't see that
to kind of save you a little bit on that one.
He's been a drink.
There's a lot of men out there that shouldn't be voting too. Just put it that way.
But if the man owns property and he has a business and he's making money, he should be the one voting, not these incels who don't own anything and they have nothing going on for them. I don't think that they should vote either.
There's a lot of uneducated, and then this is no slam to anybody. This is talking about the red hats or whatever. There's a lot of people that shouldn't be voting because they have no skin in the game. They live off
that's what I mean.
They live off the system. They do whatever. They don't do anything. Yeah, I agree with that.
But listen, if Ronald Reagan was here, if Harriet Tubman were here, they would tell us, these are the hands that we've been dealt. This is the hand that we've been dealt. So we have to make the best play out of it. It is what it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is why we tell everybody, right now, we are in a war. A very hot war right now. It may not be a shooting war. It's an information war. And because we know the information is one of the most powerful things out there. Mm-hmm. And so yeah.
Go ahead, Gigi. Go ahead, Gigi.
Gotta fight.
I wanted to throw this at you, Jimmy, that I don't think like Lucy does, and sometimes I don't think of things that prism through men and women. I just look at it through history. And I can see where a woman says, well, Jesse, you're, and I'll ask forgiveness for that, because it's true. Maybe as a male, you just look through it through that. But the women that I've come across in my lifetime, like Ayn Rand, Margaret Thatcher, Sarah Palin, I've seen a lot of strong women that I feel are better than most men. Agree.
Totally agree with that. This is why they say, oh, you conservatives, y'all just don't want a woman to be president. No, I have no problem with a woman being president as long as she's capable to do the job.
That's where
I will agree with that. 100%. I don't just want, I'm sorry, Ruby, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to.
Go ahead. Because I know you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I'm having a hard time finding points where I can agree. So when I agree, I want to jump in really quickly and say, yes, I agree with that one.
Yes, that's a beautiful point. That's a beautiful point, Lucy. We're 100% behind.
Yeah, I do not. I am a landowner, but the way that the U.S. system works, I don't actually own the land that I sit on. So, like, even landowners aren't actually real landowners. But I definitely will never be giving up my opportunity to vote. Because if I continued to listen to the men in my life, I wouldn't be here right now, right? So I had to take control of my life to get myself out of a cult because all the men around me were telling me this is where I was supposed to be, right?
Yes.
So, you know, I don't have any men other than the one that I gave birth to that I have an ounce of respect for. So it pains me to my core when I hear a fellow woman saying that she would rather give up her choice to a stranger. That's not, I don't know. I'm worried about that.
I could see where Lucy's coming from on that, because having the right to vote is awesome. It's something that we should cherish. I think if, and Ruby, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what she's meaning by that is basically people that don't have any skin in the game, and maybe she just used woman as an example, because I said there's some men out there that, and I look at them as being just uneducated, that shouldn't vote because we don't need stupid people voting. Sorry. But they have a voice, but it really messes it up for everybody else.
Well, I wouldn't give it up. So I'll clarify that. I wouldn't give it up. Like Jesse said, we have been dealt with these cards. I was born during the time that I've already had these rights. So I wouldn't give it up. But in my opinion, when I'm looking at the world view, like American politics, I deep down inside, my personal opinion would be I don't want women voting, and I would never vote for a woman to be in a position of power, especially in leadership, because it's just my worldview that it is the role of the man is like it's like headship. It's like the umbrella of headship. I still believe in that. So I believe that
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from now. Okay.
Yeah. So
But
it's along
Ruby,
those lines.
Ruby,
Okay.
I was an elder for 15 years, and Gilbert was an elder for 15 years, and Jehovah's Witness. And we,
Listen.
I'm a business owner. I've been making payroll since I was 24 years old. And I ran the school, 4 schools at the Kingdom Hall, and learning how to read and write Spanish. I did everything. But you know what I really did? I did nothing. My wife did it all. My wife, I give all the credit to my wife and my daughters. And I look back on it, and I think that I'm a self-made man. But now I look at it, it was my mom. It was my sisters, my wife. And then we help our sister-in-law in the campaign, surrounded by great women. So sometimes, Lucy, we take women, man, you know, you maybe something you could say is you men take women for granted, because there wouldn't be no great man. There wouldn't be no Ronald Reagan without Nancy Reagan, I think.
But that's our role as women. That's what I'm saying. I'm a true feminist in the sense of, yes, women have a role and we have a purpose, and that is to complement the man. So I totally agree with that.
But my wife is not my compliment. I really think now that I look back that I'm a good for nothing, because I do something, I do a project and I write it on paper, and my wife makes it happen on the computer. She does things and I dream things up, and
That's
I write
still a
it down.
compliment, in my opinion, because she is your partner. She works with you. It's not one or the other. It's a team. It's together. I totally agree with that. But then when you switch up the roles and you say, "Oh, a woman can do what a man does," that's where that's my red line.
I understand
women
where she's coming
cannot do
from.
what a man
Yeah.
does. A woman has her position. She has her power. She compliments, but a man cannot give birth. A woman can give birth. A woman teaches the next generation of children. It's our job to raise the children, and that's the role of a true feminism of what it means to be a woman.
Yeah,
And
I can see
this
that.
argument, there should be no argument, because any man on the planet who maybe because I'm a Mexican, I think this way, but you love your mother more than your life.
Mhm.
And so to me, women are the most important thing. Women are the most important thing. Any kid who had a mother, if you have a mother still, you've been blessed on earth. So what greater thing than a woman? To me, that's the way I see women. But sometimes we get so busy in our arguments and our confrontations and our talking that we forget the struggle that women have had. The suffrage. We forget the suffrage.
Yeah.
And I think women take that bad on us. And I don't think I do it on purpose, but I can see how I do it.
Guys, I'm going to have to get ready to go.
Yes. Good
Yeah,
night,
me
Jimmy.
too.
Because you're a
Good night,
chauvinist, Jimmy,
Lucy.
that's why.
No, I'm definitely not a chauvinist person. There's no me, no, that's not true. But yeah, I need to jump off because it's getting late and I got to be up early and be at an account tomorrow. But I thoroughly enjoyed the show this evening. The comments, what I could see, the comment chat, the section was on fire. Lucy, I loved our discussion. It was great. And I just want to say that, you know, seriously, over the next month, it's going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of scary things, but I think that's all by design to help wake up the yellow hats and more of the green hats. You are going to see stuff you've never seen before in this country, and this election is not going to be a normal election that we're used to. Let's just say that. They're already prepping the narrative for everything, if you know where to look. So for those that want to follow me on Twitter to see more of this stuff, you guys can come hit me up there, and I put stuff out every day. So I'm just trying to help folks, and I just want the best for everyone. So that's my final comments tonight.
Thank you, Jimmy, for coming on. I appreciate
you guys.
ideas.
Love you all. See y'all later.
Bye.
Good night, Jimmy.
Good night.
Okay, Lucy.
Yeah, great discussion, Ruby. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I definitely, you helped me push my own personal boundaries this evening, so I really appreciate it.
Hey, can I ask Lucy a
And-
question before she leaves? I want to
ahead.
ask Lucy. Lucy, you said something about all the men, because you sounded like me and Gilbert. You said all the men that surround you were telling you what to do.
Yep.
That's a common thread that we have on the GVG for GB channel, that we left because all the men we thought in the Kingdom Hall, they're all patsies. They won't think for themselves. They won't defend their family. They won't defend their wives. They won't defend their children. You know, I'd rather die in Armageddon than to be without my children. And I noticed that the elders are not like that. Is that what you were talking about? All the men in the organization?
Well, I don't believe in Armageddon, so we're talking completely different languages here.
No, I understand that, but I meant that as a figure of speech, that I'd rather die to be not getting paradise or a award than to be without my children. And I didn't see the elders willing to do that.
No, I mean, witnesses are told to give up their children to
the
blood transfusion, refuse blood transfusions. They're told that they're temporary residents on the planet. Like, basically, the worst way that you can indoctrinate someone is to keep them in a community, but tell them that they are so different that no one will understand them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So a real man cannot be there. A real man has to leave because he can't accept the premise that they're putting. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I don't know.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good night. Yeah, I'm a little bit loopy. I probably shouldn't be doing a 3.5-hour live session. But I love you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go out. I'll probably rewatch this and write some stuff down because Jimmy did say some stuff that piqued my interest. So I'll have to do some more research, of course. So thank you.
Awesome,
Night.
Lucy. Joining. Have a good night. Okay, well, now we have Gigi. Go ahead, Gigi. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to quote, Rex Harrison from the famous movie My Fair Lady when he says that men are a marvelous sex, and I couldn't agree with him more. As a matter of fact, he did get the Academy Award that year, and I think part of it was because what he said. Us men are. It is so, it is such a privilege to be bestowed by God to be, be given that sex and be called a man. So that's where I come from. But I just want to go back to this one thing, and trust me, I'll bring it all back to modern time and why it's so important about the Civil War. It has a lot to do with the banks. So we fast forward to the president that got shot, like Lincoln, and John F. Kennedy. If you look it up, and nobody knows about this, unless but the silver people know it. There's a $5 bill that you sometimes might see it at the bank. They'll give it to you, but they take it out of circulation. What John F. Kennedy did is he printed up a $5 bill that said it was issued by the United States Treasury, but there was other $5 bills that were issued by the Federal Reserve. So what John F. Kennedy did is he gave the middle finger to the Federal Reserve Bank, and he said, F you, I don't need you to raise money. I don't need to tax the people. I can just print the money. Because why do you need to fill out a form and send it to the federal government every year? They can just print the money. See, it's so that's what a lot of people don't understand. And so they're sheep. They keep sending their paperwork, their tax returns to the federal government when the federal government can just print the money. So John F. Kennedy has silver in circulation. Next thing you know, there's a bullet in his head, and the vice president becomes president, and the silver is gone. So what does that mean? That all wars are bankers' wars. That's what Gerald Celente talks about. So what we're seeing today is we have a lot of conflict. So the Civil War was about slavery, but it also was about banking. It was also about a lot of other activities like taxation. And how do we tax? Do we tax the people? Do we tax sugar? Do we tax tobacco? Or do we just print money? See, so these issues and the bankers were at the center of it all. And guess what? Labor is money. Banks the banks had a very important role with slavery. Because look, I have people that work for free in the South, and I have to pay people in the North. Yeah, this is a banking issue. This is a money issue. So what I'm saying is today in 2024, Donald Trump is coming into office, and the government is spending like drunken sailors. And this is the problem with China and Russia and all the other countries. Ruby, when you owe somebody a lot of money and you can't pay, they're going to steal. They're going to take. In the United States, we can just say bankrupt. Okay, I'm bankrupt. No. In real life, they'll come take your car. They take your wife. They take your children. They take everything. So what we're living in today is we're living in numbers that do not exist. It's called quadrillions, something that our mind cannot even fathom. And guess what? China says, hold on, I have all of these pieces of paper saying you owe me money. We'll take California instead. This is where we're at right now. This is why Donald Trump has to be president, because you need a president who understands this, that they're coming for us because we're broke as hell. We made a lot of promises. And remember in Top Gun, son, you're making promises your body can't cash. So that's where we're at today in 2024. And this is why Donald Trump, I hate to say it, like remember when in Star Wars she goes, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. We need somebody like Donald Trump who understands these finances to help deter this kind of war. But the way the Democrats are going and the way the spending and the lawlessness is happening, I don't blame China. I don't blame Russia. I don't blame the other countries. We're doing them dirty. And this is why we had 4 years of peace with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump wasn't doing them dirty when it comes to monetary affairs. But I hope I made a little bit of sense. And yeah. This is why they're trying to kill Donald Trump. The very same people that are trying to kill Lincoln, Kennedy, are trying to kill Donald Trump. And who is it? It's the bankers. It's the financial people are trying to kill Donald Trump.
I'm gonna have to do an episode just about everything that you just said, because I have so many opinions about that, but it is so late and I'm exhausted. So I am going to dedicate a show, and I hope you join it so that I can like tell you how I feel about that subject.
Sorry it took more than 3 minutes. Love you. Talk to you later.
Thank you for joining. Okay, Jesse, your final thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, your title was What We Can Do for Our Country?
Yeah, and then the thumbnail said, "How do we combat corruption in the government?"
I think the only way is love. We can't legislate morality. God is love. God is morality. You have to love your country. You know, Moses did the 10 Commandments, and we couldn't live up to it. So Jesus talked about love. So I think that's the only way. For example, if somebody's cheating right now, let's say there's a Democrat or somebody cheating, another person from another country in our election system. If you had love, you wouldn't do that. If you had love of the country. If the question of abortion comes up, love should be you can't legislate it. People, all we create is division. So I really think that the great patriots like Nathan Hale, who gave his life for his country, John F. Kennedy, they did it out of love. They gave the ultimate sacrifice. The rest of there's two types of people, those who give and those that receive. Giving is love. You have to give of yourself. Stop cheating. America hates cheaters. Look at the football game and the baseball game. When the Houston Astros cheated, everybody was mad. When the New England Patriots cheated, everybody is mad. But we cheat on our elections and nobody gets mad because there's no love. They love a football game more than they love their country.
I think they got mad in 2020. And that's why they try to demonize.
No,
people
I'm talking
who
about
got
the
mad.
cheaters. The cheaters.
Oh, the cheaters. Oh, okay. I was about to say.
They don't love their country. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's the answer. We have to instill love. When we go out there and preach the Constitution, we have to preach a love of country. Because at the end of the day, it's all we have is the United States of America. Yeah.
Wow, Jesse, that was amazing. And I totally agree with you on that. Thank
And
you
you're
so
a New
much
Yorker.
for joining.
I should have
Well-
said lower. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, but oh, you know what? We're gonna have to do a different show about that.
Okay.
About love and about
if
that.
if you come to Arizona Friday, you're gonna come to the carne asada? Now,
If
do you
it's
guys do-
virtual,
Oh, okay. I'll ask Michelle, okay, so she can meet you and my
Yeah.
wife. Okay,
Yeah.
if we got the Democrat piñata and the donkey piñata.
yeah.
All right.
Silly.
Hey, do Puerto Ricans? Do you guys do piñatas, or it's just us Mexicans?
I don't even know. I've never attended a party that had one.
Never.
No, never. Sorry.
Wow. You got to come out to paradise. The
I
grass is
guess
greener on this
so.
side. Okay. All right. I'll tell everybody. We'll have to send you a
All
piñata.
right.
All right. Hey,
Thank
your
you,
kids
Jeff,
would love
for
it. Your
coming.
kids will love it. Talk to you later.
Yeah. All right. Bye. Thank you, everybody in the comments. I'm gonna let you guys go now. What a stream. That was amazing. I had so much fun. So thank you guys for spending time with me, and I'll catch you next Tuesday. Bye.